and I used to work in the Ventura County area several years ago. So I'm very familiar with the area, and especially Santa Rosa Road, because I travel that now on my daily commute to work. So very familiar with the area. And I just wanted to introduce myself and address any of your traffic concerns that you may have in that area.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I have a new traffic concern.
Okay.
Is that I am finding that bicycles feel like they are not part of the traffic and run through the red light at East Las Posas without stopping all the time. I've nearly been hit on my horse twice, and I'm wondering what we can do about that.
Well, we can address it. Do you have any kind of time frames that happens?
Well, I usually ride on Saturday morning, so,
Okay.
but in general, it seems to be a thing that bicyclists, especially if there's no road on the right, they feel like they can just run through a red light. Has any of your other people noticed? Have any of your people noticed that?
For the highway patrol?
Yeah.
Oh, not that I am aware, but I can definitely ask the officers at the station if they've encountered that issue. I think we start off first with trying to get some enforcement over there, and basically try to take care of that issue and see what we can do. Maybe a few tickets cited to some of these folks will deter them from doing that. But I agree, it's a common issue with many bicyclists when they're driving the road. Obviously, they're supposed to follow the rules of the road like everybody else. So what we can do is just start some enforcement in that area.
Thank you.
Start off with that. No problem. And what was your name, sir?
Mark Burley.
Mark. Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Jeremy, is there anything more you wanted to tell us about?
I don't have any kind of statistics or anything. What generally is provided to you for these meetings?
How the community has been, whether or not there's been any problems with our residences. I know lately we've been hearing about some mailbox thefts that have been happening.
That would be the sheriffs.
That would be the sheriffs. They could not attend. So.
Yeah, sheriffs are trying to talk.
I had a question for Lieutenant Key.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we recently sent out a survey to the residents here, and several of them brought up the issue of, we have a limit on the size of trucks that are allowed to go down Santa Rosa Road. And there's been some concern with the residents that full-size trucks, semis, are going down Santa Rosa Road in violation of the rules there. And I'm wondering what kind of enforcement mechanism can be used in that case?
Uniform personnel. What I can do is touch base with the scales there at Conejo and get some what they call MREs, motor carrier officers that specialize in enforcement. And I'll work with them and ask them to get some more enforcement in that area, just to curtail some of that truck traffic and overweight and that sort of thing. Our regular officers as well can also take enforcement action. So I haven't seen anything in the mornings when I'm on my way to work or anything, but do you have any kind of specific times that may be occurring?
I don't personally. These came in as comments from residents, so they didn't specify what time.
If I can add a little history here, because we've had this issue come up many times over the years, and CHP has on occasion sent out I guess I'm going to call them the traveling scales, they've stopped they stopped people, the multi-axle vehicles, and that has been fairly effective. And I'm trying to remember, maybe the other board members can help remind me when we last had that, but in the past this has come up before, and CHP has responded, and that has got some of them off the road. Do we remember when we last had that, anybody?
I think it's been quite a while, and I know he was pretty regular about setting up on Santa Rosa Road and waving down semis to, okay, pull over, let's check you out. And it was a particular officer who was specialized in, his vehicle was a little different. I mean, he just parked there and always waved them over, and they knew. And then they'd get on their ham radios and tell other drivers, don't go down Santa Rosa Road today because he's out there, you know. But he usually camp out for about more than one day. And it's been quite a while since I've seen that guy.
Yeah, let's get him back out there. It's nice to have those officers out there that specialize in the commercial trucks, because they really can take a lot of different action against them. So I will definitely work with the scales, because they're the specialists in that arena, and we'll get them out there and see what we can do.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
no
you,
problem.
Lieutenant Key.
No problem. Nice seeing you again. You take care.
All right, you too.
Alrighty.
Well, technically he wasn't on the agenda, so you can call the meeting to order.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Okay, why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'm going to share my screen. One moment.
Oh, goody. You have a flag, right?
I do.
Oh, this is cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What's that?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
I
pledge
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
which it stands, one
One
nation,
under
nation,
God,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all.
Amen. Okay, now we go to the swearing in ceremony
Mhm.
for myself, Michael, and Kevin. Linda, would you like to take it away?
Let me unmute you. Let me unmute you. I'm unmuting you. Wait. You need to unmute. Press the button. There you go. There you go.
Okay, and there's one more thing I need.
It's on in your comments.
I know that.
Okay.
I'm looking for them.
Okay. You get a.
Well, I've got it memorized in my head, but I should still have it before
No,
me.
it's okay. You get 1,000 emails. Let me.
Yes, there has been 1,000 emails today.
Probably since I even emailed this to you. There you go.
Oh, thank you. Don't you love technology?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay, so if you would please raise your right hand, this would be Rosemary, Kevin, and Michael Adams. And repeat after me. I, and then state your name.
I, Rosemary Allison,
Do solemnly swear
You solemnly
swear
that I will support and defend
that I will
support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the
Constitution
State
of
of
the State of
California
California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign
foreign
and
and
domestic,
domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the
and the
Constitution of the State
Constitution
of
of the State of
California,
California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this
this
obligation freely
freely
and without any mental reservation.
and without any mental reservations.
And someone's got to take a screenshot before I'm done.
Yes.
Or purpose of evasion,
for purpose of evasion,
Yes.
Evasion.
And that I will and
There
faithfully
you go.
and that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
Duties
upon which I am about to enter.
of which I'm
on
about
which
to
I'm
enter.
about to enter.
All right. Congratulations. Let's do some virtual handshaking.
I will email the oaths to you shortly. You can just sign them and email them back.
Okay, I've got this. Is
Okay.
that-
Or you can email that.
That's
Well,
it?
yeah, you know what? Let me email it to you because what I do is I put Supervisor Parks' signature on it and then I'll email it to you. We do all e-signatures, so
What about this thing?
that's
Isn't it?
for you. That's pretty.
Congratulations. Congratulations, all of you. And there was actually an election and everything, right? It's the first-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our election.
Congratulations. Good campaigning.
Thank you.
All righty.
Okay. Next topic is election of chair and vice chair.
Do you have a motion?
Any nomination?
Any nominations?
I would still be happy to be the chair.
I nominate Rosemary Allison.
I will second.
Was that Kevin?
Yes,
Okay. All right. I'll do a roll call. Michael Adams,
Yes?
Rosemary Allison,
Yes.
Mark Burley,
Yes.
Kevin Cannon,
yes.
Amy Elliott. You nodded your head. I asked you to unmute. Thanks.
I
Okay.
got it. Sorry, guys.
And nominations for vice chair.
Who would like to be vice chair, you guys? Kevin? Kevin. I nominate Kevin Cannon.
I second.
All in favor?
Okay, and I'll do a roll call. Michael Adams,
Yes?
Rosemary Allison,
Yes.
Mark Burley,
Aye.
doing it alphabetically, Kevin Cannon,
Yes,
and Amy Elliott.
Aye.
There you go. All right.
All right, that's done. Okay, so now let's go through the approval of minutes from November 19th.
I have a slight change.
Okay.
Page 1 at the sort of 2/3 of the way down. Mark Burley said the project looked great, but the slope to the trail on the west side should be extended. And then if it could read preferably with a 10% slope and lose the line about possibly ADA compliant. I don't think I would have said that for
Okay, so,
various reasons. So should be extended preferably with a 10% slope.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Any other changes? Okay, make a motion with that change.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes with the change as proposed by Mark Burley.
A
Mhm.
second.
Okay,
All-
all in favor, Michael Adams,
Yes?
Rosemary Allison,
Aye.
Mark Burley,
Aye.
Kevin Cannon,
aye.
Amy Elliott.
Aye.
Thank you.
Kevin, how did you do that? I want that.
It's under reaction.
Any agenda changes?
No.
Okay,
Then-
all right. The agenda review, that's what you just asked,
Yeah.
correct? All right, update from Southern California Edison on public safety power shutoffs. Perfect timing for this.
Yeah. I'm glad to have power back.
Yeah.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening, council members, Supervisor Parks, Rudy Gonzalez. I'm Southern California Edison's Government Relations Manager for the area. Been covering the area for many years and very familiar with the Santa Rosa Valley. Here tonight to just give you an overview on Edison's Public Safety Power Shutoff Program. I want to start out with just a safety safety tip regards to being prepared for any type of wildfire event that might require you to evacuate at a moment's notice. Have a plan, share that plan with your family members, and implement that plan when an emergency arises. Also, in regards to wildfire mitigation at the home, make sure you have an adequate defensible space around your home, at least 100 feet from vegetation from your home. That'll help minimize the possibility that a wildfire that spreads might impact your home. Also want to take a moment to just talk a little bit about what we're doing in regards to dealing with the COVID outbreak. We have bi-weekly executive level presentations by our CEO, and he shared with us today that out of our 13,000 employees, we have 984 that are currently impacted by COVID related issues. So this is really a huge issue, and we are dealing with it internally, and we know that many of our customers are dealing with it as well. And the safety of our customers and our employees are our top priority. So among the things that we're doing in terms of working with customers who are impacted by COVID, we are eliminating disconnecting customers for lack of payment. We know that folks who are working from home or who have lost their job as a result of COVID may be having difficult financial challenges. So we are eliminating the disconnections. We are also streamlining our efforts in regards to enrollment for customers on our medical baseline and our care programs, which are our discounted electricity programs. And we continue to try to support the communities through our various philanthropic opportunities. So the reason we have public safety power shutoffs is because California's wildfire problem is serious, and it's worsening. We've had 10 of the 20 most destructive wildfires since 2015, and about 25% of Edison's service territory is considered to be high fire risk area. So among the tools that we use to minimize the threat of wildfire on our facilities is the use of public safety power shutoffs. And we know that it's not a popular tool. We know it's a plan or a policy that creates challenges for our customers. And we do everything we can to minimize the need for public safety power shutoffs. I'm going to summarize a much longer presentation so that I have the opportunity to answer questions from the community. Among the wildfire mitigation tools that we use are hardening our system through installation of covered conductor on our system. And covered conductor is insulated wire. Currently, or in most of our service area, the wire that you see on the poles is bare wire. So if a tree or a foreign object makes contact with that line, it's susceptible to create an arc or a spark that could lead to a wildfire. Covered conductor, which is what we plan to install in most of our high fire risk area, is insulated. And so if a branch or a palm frond makes contact with that line, it's not going to create the arc or spark that you normally would see. We're also pursuing customer care programs so that customers themselves can minimize the impact of public safety power shutoffs. We have incentive programs for customers to purchase battery backup systems. And for those that qualify financially, we have free battery backup systems along with the solar system that would charge that system if the power went down. So we have programs that will assist customers in minimizing the impact to their day-to-day activities. The most recent PSPS event that we had took place over this past few days. It was probably the worst wind event that I've experienced in my time working with the communities at Edison, and it was significant. And a lot of folks might say, well, why do you implement the PSPS? And our number one goal is to protect the public from wildfire events. And so in order to safely do so, we curtail the electricity to certain segments of our service area that are most susceptible to things like tree branches flying through the air. I will tell you that this wind event that we had was so bad, we actually had a trampoline get into our lines in the city of Simi Valley. So there's debris flying everywhere, and in order for us to minimize the possibility that our lines could come in contact with a foreign object, it's our position that it's safest to discontinue the flow of electricity through those lines, and therefore minimize the possibility of a wildfire spread. We had customers that were out for multiple days, which is somewhat unusual. You know, many of these events, or several of these events, typically come and go within a 12 to 24 hour period. This was an unusually severe event in that we had some customers out for nearly 3 days. And again, we understand the impact that it has on residents. We don't make the decision to utilize this tool very lightly. We have a staff of meteorologists that monitor the weather stations that we've installed throughout our service territory. And when they determine that the wind speeds could be such that debris could be flying through the air, we will implement this plan. We actually send field personnel out to the local communities, in addition to utilizing data from our weather stations and National Weather Service data. And you know, they're the boots on the ground. They're the ones that know our circuitry backwards and forwards, and they're the ones that know where the winds are most susceptible and most likely to cause damage to our facilities. So again, it's something that I know is not a welcome plan for us to implement in the communities, but we're doing our best to keep our communities safe and insulated from wildfires. I have received some communications recently about the possibility of moving certain customers from one circuit to another. There's a particular neighborhood that's been mentioned to us, the area off of Santa Rosa Road, and specifically the Yucca Drive neighborhood. And I've submitted a request to our field engineering department, who are looking at the possibility of moving that section of the zone circuit. And for those of you that don't know, the Santa Rosa Valley is split into 2 circuits. The west part of it is covered by the Rosa circuit. The east part, closer to Moore Park, is covered by the zone circuit. And so we looked at the circuitry in that area, and we determined that there is a possibility of moving a segment of folks who are currently served from the zone circuit onto the Rosa. But I will let you know that this past wind event that we had, both the Rosa and the zone were impacted by the winds. We implemented public safety power shutoff on both circuits. However, historically speaking, the zone circuit has more frequency of PSPS interruptions than the Rosa circuit. So we have to go through an approval process, which includes an evaluation of the weather data that we utilize to connect portions of our circuitry to certain weather stations, and that will take a few weeks. The good news is that we have some precipitation coming into the area within the next week. That precipitation will add moisture to the fuel content on the ground and will minimize the need for PSPS events in the short term. But again, you know, we sympathize with our customers. We understand we're having a huge impact on them when we do implement the plan. But it's something that we have to have available to us in order to minimize the threat of wildfire. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that residents may have.
When do you expect that you will come to a decision about changing Yucca Drive to the other circuit?
I'm going to say within the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's very important. These people have suffered greatly. And, you know, there's elderly people there that are dependent upon that electricity. And when you take them off the grid for 4 days, that is not acceptable for this age range.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to stress is making sure that, you know, folks provide Edison the best notification means, either cell phone, email address, whatever that is. We want to make sure that we are communicating to our customers as best we can ahead of an event. And we also want to make sure that they have the most accurate information ahead of the event. And we've had challenges in terms of communicating. And I'll let you know that this program, this implementation of PSPS is going through a very close scrutiny. In fact, we are participating with the California Public Utilities Commission on Tuesday afternoon of next week in a hearing where the CPUC judges will take a look at how we implement the program, the means in which we notify our customers, how we're doing in terms of providing resources to our customers, and then also how we're dealing with customers who have critical medical needs, customers who are either part of our medical baseline program or part of our critical care customer programs. So we're going to be on the hot seat, and I can anticipate that there may be some changes to the program, but it's too early to really say what those changes might be. But
Can I interject one more thing regarding that specific Yucca situation?
Sure.
That location also services a Rosa hub of some sort. And when that goes out, it affects water in a large portion, a lot of people who live in Santa Rosa Valley. So it doesn't just affect those homeowners because they're off the grid, but a lot of properties cannot do any area landscape watering, and which is horrible in, a dry fire season. But literally their water gets cut off when you turn off that specific Yucca segment.
Understand. Thank you.
Kevin?
I've got a couple questions. One real quick. The communications telling us when it might be turned on kind of never came. We get all these warnings about it. You could be shut off in 4 hours, but we don't get a warning once the power's off. You might be restored in 4 hours or 2 hours. We just finally got a message almost when it came on that, we're working on restoring it. My second question is, do you guys have people in the field to minimize the time it takes you to inspect the lines once the wind dies down? I know that you have to go and look after the wind event before you energize.
Right.
So do you have people, helicopters flying around looking at things, or drones or anything like that, other than just after it's over, you have to send them out then? I mean, after the wind's died?
Yeah. So the way the process works, and I'll go through the notification process. We typically communicate to our local government agencies and emergency responders 3 days out from a possible public safety power shutoff implementation. 48 hours ahead of possible implementation, we send out a notice to those customers who are served off the circuits that could be impacted. 24 hours out, we do a similar notification to customers. And then we make every attempt to do something within an hour or so of the power going out.
1 second, Rudy.
It's not always.
Does someone have a dog? They can
Yeah,
mute
the
themselves?
dog's in my.
Oh, is it yours?
That's my-
Okay. I knew it
That's
wasn't
why
mine. Like, who has a dog?
They're mine.
Okay, never
I'll
mind.
try to calm them down.
Okay.
Anyway, we make every attempt to try to do a notification just prior to the power going out. However, rapidly changing conditions could preclude us from being able to do so. But that's part of our plan, is to send out a notification just prior to. And then once we determine that the weather event has subsided to the point where we can look at patrolling, which is necessary before we can re-energize, we then send out a notification. In some cases, as was the case last night on the west end of the Santa Rosa Valley, we ran out of daylight in order to be able to patrol our lines. So we sent out a helicopter this morning to complete the patrol before we were able to safely re-energize the line. So it's, people think the winds die down and, the power should come on right away. Unfortunately, there is a process that we have to go through in order to determine that the lines are safe to re-energize. So that just adds a little bit of time on the back end.
I would just suggest that there's some communications of how close are we to be re-energized. And so in that case, that's news to me that once the sun goes down, if your power's not on, it's probably not going to come back on. I didn't know that, but a message at the end of the day that says, sorry, but you're not going to be on at least until tomorrow morning, that would be great.
And those communication issues are the very issues that are going to be raised by the commission at Tuesday's hearing.
Michael?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for giving a talk today, Mr. Gonzalez. So I have a couple of questions. One is, I believe most of Santa Rosa Valley has underground wiring. I've thought, okay, if it's underground wiring, that's not going to be affected by a wind event. So it's only going to be the lines coming into Santa Rosa Valley that would be an issue in a wind event. Or if the lines are not segmented, we're being impacted by lines that are actually coming into Santa Rosa Valley and going out of Santa Rosa Valley. So what I'd like to ask is, can something be worked on to segment the lines in a way that would minimize our power, the PSPS in Santa Rosa Valley, harden the lines going into Santa Rosa Valley so they're not turned off as much as they are now? And if there's an issue with lines leaving Santa Rosa Valley, put some sort of way of segmenting those lines so that if you had to do a PSPS event for lines leaving Santa Rosa Valley, that we could leave the power on in Santa Rosa Valley.
And that's part of what we're doing now in terms of evaluating our circuitry to determine where we can safely keep the power on. The issue with Santa Rosa Valley is the source line that feeds the underground system is all overhead. And that's the risky part of our system in that area. So our goal is to eventually install covered conductor on those overhead wires and minimize the risk, and therefore increase the thresholds that will, it won't eliminate the need for public safety power shutoffs, but it'll raise the thresholds before we consider it. So we're looking at every opportunity to try to keep as many customers up with power as we can. It's a challenge though when the source lines that come out of the substation are overhead.
Right.
But we will continue to evaluate. And I'm sure that issue will come up at our hearing on Tuesday.
Okay, so I spoke to one of the workers who was repairing the lines coming out of the substation into Santa Rosa Valley. And those lines are actually very close to my residence, and I can go up to the top of Priscilla there and I can see those lines going all the way down to your substation. And what he told me is that the power lines that are feeding the underground wiring here for Santa Rosa Valley, there was enough slack in those lines that they were whipping around and actually made contact with the transmission lines above.
Right.
So it seems like some sort of maintenance issue about maintaining the proper tension on the lines and, and maybe inspecting those lines more than they are now. I did talk to another neighbor and he said that there's been, since he's been here, 5 different events, just having those lines from the substation going up to Priscilla Road. And that's not that big of a distance. Including one line that broke and fell on his property and started a fire. So, I really would like to see Southern California Edison evaluate that and try to harden the lines going into Santa Rosa Valley, segmenting off those that leave Santa Rosa Valley, so at least we can have electricity in Santa Rosa Valley with our underground wiring.
Right. I'd be very curious to know where that location is that you're referring to, that where you said the instance of wire down was, because we can install things like spacers on the line that will keep them from slapping together. That's not a good situation when the distribution lines are coming in contact with the higher voltage transmission lines. That's when we run into, voltage surge issues. So I'd be
Right.
very interested in knowing where those areas are.
Yeah, I would be glad to get in contact with you and let you know on that.
The supervisor's office can get you my contact information.
Okay,
I can do
Okay.
that.
great.
Are there
yeah.
other Matt?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Michael. I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
did have one other piece of information here. So when the power went off at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, we were given a outage number. And I went to the website and it said that we're evaluating the problem. And that message never budged for 2 days. Even after the power came back on, I think was about the only time that got updated. So, there's different stages, evaluating the problem. We're sending a crew is working on it, and then the outage is fixed. There was never any updating of the outage after that initial notification. So it seems like and in another situation, I got a message that we're going to have a power safety public safety power shutoff. I actually got that message, that very first message, after the power had already been shut off. So there does seem to be some work that needs to be done as far as the communications. I think the residents here would feel at least somewhat better knowing that they have some idea of what's happening, with getting advance notice, or if there is an outage, where are we in status wise with that outage.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your comments. We have a lot of work and a lot of improvement to do in the communication area. And that even goes internally. And we were having some internal communication challenges. So again, those are the types of issues that are going to be discussed at length at the hearing on Tuesday. That's going to include the president of our company, as well as senior level executives in the transmission and distribution organization. So our feet will be held to the fire and we will improve.
Do I have any other MAC members who want to, and then once the MAC members finish, I'll open it up to the public. I know, Patrick, I do see your hand up, so I want to make sure we get through the MAC member comments.
There was just one more thing. And again, it had to do with the communication. I know that I received notices that the power should be on at a certain time. And then that time kept extending, and then it went into, just kind of a circle thing that just never ended. And it's one thing to be prepared, but when we're told that the power would be coming on like 4 hours later, and instead it was like 40 hours later, that's a large difference. I mean, I personally know that, I've lost a refrigerator and freezer full of food. So it is a problem. And we do need to understand, our goal is certainly to have, a safe environment and not to have the fire danger. But I'm wondering what can be done to possibly insulate the equipment a little better so there isn't a fire danger.
Well, that's part of our cover conductor program, and that's a systematic program where we intend to insulate our wires in our high fire risk area. And as I mentioned, we've got about 25% of our 50,000 square mile service territory that's considered to be high fire risk area. So we have a lot of work to do, and we're devoting a lot of resources to trying to get it done. It can't get done soon enough. I mean, we are having a tremendous impact on residents, and we understand that. And our goal is to try to minimize the need for public safety power shutoff. So we hear you loud and clear.
Well, for people that have lost, freezers full of food, appliances. I had a printer the last time you had a shut off that I lost when the power came back on. Is there any recourse or compensation?
So currently for public safety power shutoffs, we do not reimburse for lost or for spoiled food. I'm sure that's going to be discussed at the hearing on Tuesday, and I would anticipate that there may be changes to that policy. But as it is now, no. For equipment damage, we do have a claims process. If you go to sce.com/claims, you can file an online claim for equipment issues. And we handle each of those claims on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, sorry.
While we're on that particular issue, I, several years ago, installed basically a whole house surge protector because of this issue with the power coming back on. My understanding is that that stops these huge like surges within the whole house. Is that something you recommend?
Surge protection is always something that I would recommend. I have surge protection on just about every piece of electronics that I have in my home. It's just another safeguard against against a surge. The power going off and coming back on should not negatively impact today's modern electronics, but in some cases it does, and it causes problems. So I would recommend surge protection. We also recommend that if the power goes out, disconnect your sensitive equipment so that when it comes back on, you don't experience any damage to that equipment, and then you plug it in when it's safe to do so. Those are the recommendations.
I have a question for you on that note. So without going into the spider web of a website, is that something that is readily accessible for your customers to know?
What is that?
Just what Mark asked.
Oh,
Surge
about
protectors, everything. Like, is because what happens is, like, I'll give you an example. So I live in the Santa Rosa Valley. I live on the east end. So the
Okay.
only way, so I live right past Yucca. I live on Barbara Drive.
Okay.
So the only way I had any updates about what was going on, now mind you, super happy it's going on, no fires, thank you. But the only way I knew updates were from my Santa Rosa Valley fellow neighbors that lived on the east end. And then, you could kind of put it together that it was going.
Right.
So I think that it's all communication, right? And, we might get this just exactly what Kevin said and what Mark said, really just kind of like, hey guys, hear what's going on. We know you have bigger fish to fry, but I'm getting all my information from my neighbors, not from.
So I will package up a communication to the supervisor's office that I would ask her to send out to members of the MAC and also the residents in the community with a list of resources that we have available, including a link to our claims process and battery backup systems.
Right.
So hopefully you'll find that useful.
What would be awesome, and forgive me if I missed this, but for the gas company, they send out this little pamphlet, right? And I have it hanging on my refrigerator with magnets, because basically if something happens bad with the gas line,
Right.
here's what I need to do. Here's what you should do. Here's this. So maybe something like that, where people could kind of have a little super easy checklist. You're
Sure.
not going to get 70, 80-year-olds going through your website,
Yeah.
perusing through everything. You're not going to find a 50-year-old doing it. Right?
And they're a vulnerable population that we get many calls about. And I just this past event I dealt with a few elderly.
Make it easy for them.
No,
Just
absolutely,
easy.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
One more thing I'd like to add, Rudy, it's great to be able to talk to you. I know yesterday I was so frustrated. I was calling and going into a machine. Is there any way that you could give us a number where residents can call a live person?
I'm a live person.
I can call you.
Oh,
If it's
Be
your cell
careful,
phone.
Rudy.
I'm
Hey,
asking.
Supervisor Parks knows that I'm never hesitant to share my cell phone number. Everyone has it, and I'm happy to share it now in the
Share it
event that you
now,
have any
please.
follow-up questions. It's
Okay.
805-402-4403.
These meetings are public.
That's
Right.
fine.
Thank you, Rudy. That's very nice.
My job.
That's wonderful.
you.
That's very nice. Thank you. Michael, and then I'll open it up to the community.
Yeah, I just have a suggestion for anybody watching this broadcast here. So when there's a power shut off, the first thing I do is I go out to my meter and I pull the large circuit breakers to the house and just turn them off. And I leave them off for a good 15 or 20 minutes, even after the power has come back on. Because sometimes it goes on and it goes off, and you keep getting these surges that will burn out equipment. And so if you just leave it off and leave it on, or leave it off until about 20 minutes after it's come back on, then I'll go in and turn it back on. And you can tell, obviously, if there's lights on around you, that you can tell the power is back on. But if it's daytime, you can go out to the meter, and on the meter is a little LCD display. And if that's blank, the power's off. If it's got some writing on it, then the power's on. And so maybe that'll help some people save their equipment, because yeah, it can get expensive.
Let me also share in regards to the communication issue. The event that we had this past few days, it was a significant event, and we did implement public safety power shutoffs. However, there were also many repair orders that we had to complete before power came back on. So, you know, there were some lingering customers that were victims of equipment issues that probably went beyond the public safety power shutoff. So in an event like this, you're going to have not only the public safety power shutoff, but also repair orders that need to be completed before the powers can be safely restored.
Pat, oh, yes, Michael.
Sorry, I did have one other quick question. In the comments that we received in our survey, some people had mentioned that Spectrum is using your power to power their equipment. Is there anything that Southern California Edison can do to help them maintain power, maybe on an emergency basis or some other means, so that the communications, at least in the valley, is maintained?
So this has been an ongoing issue since we started utilizing public safety power shutoffs. And one of the goals that we had was to ensure that we met with all the other service providers to ensure that they were prepared to deal with the loss of electricity. And in many cases, many of those service providers installed backup generation on their cell sites and their other facilities. You know, all we can do is make suggestions. We can't force them, but I know that statewide it's being looked at as possibly a mandate so that they keep their facilities up and running. So, you know, it's the conversations we've had are with all the communication and cable providers, and they understand that their facilities are subject to public safety power shutoffs as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Hi, Patrick, you are unmuted. But we can't hear you. Patrick, you might want to check your microphone. We can't hear you, but you are not muted.
Are you trying to reach Patrick Welch?
I'm not sure. It just says Patrick.
There's a Patrick, and then I see Pat Welch. I think there's two, and I think Pat.
Okay. Is it? Where's the other one?
I see the other one, but I don't know who that is.
Let's see.
He just, you know, Pat Welch just went off, and I think he thought it was him.
Oh, okay. Well, we can get back to him. Let me do Let me go ahead and ask Eric Peterson to unmute.
Eric, you're still muted.
Yeah, though there's should be a little pop-up that says to unmute you. There you go.
Okay, is this working?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Just wanted to bring up a couple of points. Mark brings up a good point. If you do have any kind of electronics or anything, be aware that you do want to have some sort of a power surge protection. Our refrigerator went out. I had to do a little bit of maintenance to get it to come back. So any kind of electronics or modern appliances, you want to have that. As far as the notifications, Rudy, thank you for the presentation. You may want to notify Public Works so that they can put up stop signs at the traffic signals. When the traffic lights go out, folks aren't always aware of the fact that they have to stop at a dead signal. And secondly, if it's dark, we don't have lighting. Obviously, and one of the difficulties is you can't see the traffic signals either, so you just blow right through them without even seeing them. So if you could maybe have Public Works come, I called them up myself early Tuesday morning, but if that could maybe be on the checklist for Edison to work with them.
So I can assure you that Public Works is on our notification list. As are many elected officials and most of our county and city staff members. So the notifications are, and we also work very closely with the County Office of Emergency Services. So the County Office of Emergency Services is very well aware of all the locations where we've implemented public safety power shutoff, but county staff are also notified.
Okay, but the folks I talked to at Public Works seemed very surprised that the power was out, and
Okay.
they raced people out there supposedly to put up stop signs. But regardless, it might be something to have happen earlier rather than later, because I see somebody doing a T-bone there real soon. One other point is that Rosemary had mentioned that the ag water is run on pumps. We also have fire hydrants that are hooked up to the ag water, I believe. If those pumps are out for too long, the ag water pressure essentially goes to zero. That happened after about 8 hours here. And I'm assuming those fire hydrants pressure is going to go to zero. So I don't know if that's a concern that we have to bring up with Cam Rosa, or well, how one has to mitigate that. But I just wanted to bring that up as an issue.
Yeah, in the event of a fire, if a fire were to occur in that area while a public safety power shutoff was being implemented, we're in constant and in close communication with public safety personnel. So again, we work through the Ventura County Office of Emergency Services. They would have the ability to notify us of the need to re-energize a certain area in order to accommodate things like water pumping. So we have that ability to do that if it's safe to re-energize.
Okay, lots of residents have fire hoses also, and they're hooking them up to those in the case of a fire, and they'll do that 15 minutes before the fire trucks can show up. So it's still a concern.
Right.
Can you bring this up at the meeting you're going to, Rudy?
I'm not going to the meeting. This is going to be the president of our company along with others, but that is something that we discuss with our public safety partners on a regular basis.
I just think that these things are real important, because when that goes down, I mean, again, we need to get in conjunction with the stop signs, with some sort of lighting, and the ability. There are cell areas that do not work without the Wi-Fi or the electrical. So people were not only out of electricity, but they weren't able to contact anybody in any way, shape, or form. So I think when these things occur, prior to that point, we need to have some sort of, system set up for those people that are most affected.
Well, I would say that Cam Rosa is affected, and it's on Cam's plate to provide backup generation power to power the water system in Santa Rosa Valley. So we keep asking Rudy for things, but we should go to these agencies like Spectrum and Cam Rosa and say, you guys get your act together. Okay, this is unacceptable.
Pat, I think you're back on.
Am I on? Can you hear
You
me?
are. I can hear you and see you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not a Zoomer.
That's
Um,
okay.
I could talk for hours on this. First of all, I was very happy Rudy's involved. I dealt twice with Rudy before when I lived in North Ranch for 34 years. And if he's involved in this, you can have a lot of confidence that things will get done. And he's a good guy. I want to specifically talk about the Yucca area. I walk a lot. I haven't worked for 20 years, so I walk. And that's all I do basically all day is walk. And I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people are affected by this. There's about 150 houses. There's some fairly big businesses, which kind of surprised me. There's a big nursery, a couple big nurseries, a couple big farms, a couple big orange tree farms that are impacted by this. Spectrum is impacted by it. They sent me an email today basically saying that they have to shut their power, or when their power gets shut down, it affects areas even outside the Yucca area because their equipment, a lot of their equipment supposedly is located near that Yucca area, according to them. So that's why other people have problems with Spectrum when our power gets down. Our power has been off 100 hours, over 110 hours in the last 4 weeks.
Wow.
And that's almost 5 days. And I'm lucky I have Joe Markowitz. You know, I'm lucky I have him who prepares me for all the things that you guys have been talking about with generators and all that kind of stuff. But most people don't. And they are severely impacted by this. The big thing basically, Rudy, was that Yucca's power, this little narrow corridor. It's like if you go up Yucca Drive and then you go over the hill and then you take a right-hand turn, we're part of Moore Park and Los Angeles Avenue. When that gets shut down, when Target gets shut down and McDonald's, if people are all familiar with that area, that's the grid Yucca is on, which is crazy. And I asked some long-term residents, people who were here when the first houses were built here, and they basically said there just wasn't any plan that houses could be on one grid on one street and 50 feet over, they could be on a different grid. And neighbors could be on different grids. And it just never got fixed. And so that's basically, you know, I go back, I used to have the insurance with Southern California Edison 20 years ago. And I used to be an executive vice president of an insurance company. This area here, compared to North Ranch and Sherwood, where I used to live, is minimal in comparison to fire issues. So I'm not sure, Rudy, who's saying that 20%, where that's coming from. But specifically the Yucca area, it's pretty flat. You know, it's got little hills in it, but you can go over to Barbara and you can go over to Blanchard and you can go over to some of the areas and Yucca will be shut down, but they won't be. Literally, you can look out of Joe and I live near each other, so we can look out of each other's houses and we can see people whose lights are on 100 yards from us. And so I don't know if anybody has any questions of me. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and you know, it's something probably that is costly to fix, I'm guessing. But you know, I just
were you on the line when I went over the plan to move that section over to an adjacent circuit?
Yeah.
Were you on the call or on the Zoom?
No.
Okay, so our plan within the next 2 to 4 weeks or so. We just have to go through some final approval processes. The plan is to move that section that you live in off of Yucca and Santa Rosa onto the adjacent Rosa circuit, which historically has been less impacted by public safety power shutoff. So we're likely gonna do what you're asking us to do.
Is that where that big berry farm is? Because I think they're impacted by this too, that, you know, the largest berry farm in the country. And is that towards Camarillo or the other way?
It's towards Camarillo.
Okay, yeah, that is rarely ever impacted. You're right. That would be a big, huge plus to for everyone. But there's a lot of local people, Rudy, you might want to talk to them. I mean, some of the long-term residents,
Right.
they know a lot about how it was developed, but.
I'm gonna go ahead and Diane Henderson, I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
There's Diane.
Thank you. Hello. So I wanted to just speak to you guys about the families who are impacted, who have students at home. As you guys know, we're in a COVID year, so we're in this unprecedented time for our students. And we have four students in our house, 3 in college, at university, and 1 a senior in high school. And when they're working remotely, and I run a business out of the house, and my husband was working remotely, so we have literally 8 people under this roof working remotely or going to school. I'm more concerned about the students though, because you can't go to your professor at UCI with 500 kids in your class and say, I couldn't get online to my mandatory Zoom lecture. And when the cell service and the internet and the electricity all goes down all at the same time, and there's 0 notification, like I know that when there's fires and there are emergency situations that happen, there are shelters that are created for people to be able to go, to be able to function. And this is just a real issue where would we start the dialogue within our community and within the utilities, or to be able to secure a place in this COVID season where they could actually go and have internet and have, maybe be socially distanced. There needs to be a plan for this, because this student situation is going to be long-term likely in our state and in our area, and it needs to get addressed like now, because we've got kids their grades were impacted because of these 2 days being offline, and that's unacceptable. So how do we partner with our community, and if Southern California Edison's going to shut us down and we don't have spectrum, how do we start that and get something like that put in place? Where do we begin that discussion?
Thank you.
Is that something that needs to happen at a county level? Because obviously it cannot happen within Santa Rosa Valley because we all got cut off. So it's not something that we can deal with specifically in our community. We would need that sort of thing to happen at a county level, where if there was power shut off in certain areas and people were in emergency need of communication, they could go there just as they could if there was a fire and they go somewhere. So maybe that's something that needs to be discussed at a county level.
I must say though that as a mother of twin 13-year-old girls at Santa Rosa, I greatly feel what you're feeling. So
I'm trying to think of what could possibly be an answer for this. I mean, if we put our heads together, is there a way, Rudy, where you put spectrum on a different type of circuit?
So if you're saying that Spectrum has facilities within the Yucca Drive neighborhood, is that, did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
So, I can't guarantee that moving them to an adjacent circuit like what the request was is going to mean that they're never going to be impacted. It just as what occurred this past couple of days, both the Rosa circuit, where we're moving the Yucca neighborhood to, and the zone circuit, which they're a part of now, were both impacted. So I guess it's
well, what I'm thinking is that people have generators or something else, put it on the responsibility of the homeowners to get some sort of other form of electricity or power. But then once they do get on power, to give some of these people who need that communication so badly, instead of having them, some of the residents actually went to hotels. It was that bad. But kids who need to do schoolwork, this was a problem. And I'm just trying to think of a solution that maybe will help take care of it. And I understand your situation is you have to turn some off, but I wonder if there's any way you could protect some of the utility circuits, such as Rosa and Spectrum.
It would be almost impossible to parse out, just customers out of a circuit, because when we disconnect, we do so at certain switches, or sometimes we do it at the substation level. So depending upon the severity of the incident, will determine how much of that circuit we need to disconnect. I'm happy to take an action item to follow up with the Spectrum representatives who cover the Santa Rosa Valley area and encourage them to install backup generation on their facilities. Like I said, we've had these conversations with the cable and communication companies since we started utilizing the PSPS tool.
We'd appreciate that. And maybe if you could give us some information so we could solicit them too.
Well, that's what I was suggesting, Rosemary, that we need to put it on them. And Rudy already mentioned that at the state level, they might mandate that utilities have to have backup generation. I mean, I worked at Amgen. Okay, Amgen doesn't go down if the power gets turned off. They have huge diesel generators that power manufacturing facilities. So if you have enough money behind it, you got power at all times. And Spectrum is a big company, and maybe that's we're a small town, facility that they have for us or for the Spectrum area that it's covering. But damn it, I mean, we should use all the power we have as a MAC to suggest to Spectrum, unacceptable. We're going to all leave you if you don't put backup generation on that, because AT&T didn't happen that way, and something like that. That's what I read. So it's sort of like the squeaky wheel might get the grease.
Rudy, who would be our state representatives that we should talk to if we wanted to try to escalate this to legislatures? Who?
I think, isn't it Henry Stern that covers that area?
Henry Stern and Jackie Owen.
Yes.
Jackie Owen.
All right.
And Henry has been very vocal about our program. So he's very well aware of the impact that we have on the communities that he represents.
Okay. Maybe we need to work with Henry. Okay.
And going back to the generator, we have a generator to power a few of the things that we have here. But anyway, and so we have power if we need to plug a laptop in. But when we don't have Spectrum, we don't have cell service. You can't even run it from a hotspot. So that's, I think, the issue. And if we can, I'd be happy to jump in and help to move the process along. If we just had. It's just with getting in with all the red tape of trying to get the county to approve something, at the county level, and try to put some kind of a place in place with the COVID, protections and all that stuff. It's almost like we need someone to be able to back us and say, yeah, we need, like, would SCE, would they go to bat for us and say, we need to have a place where students can go or where professionals can go and actually be able to have the services that they need. And how would we get, rather than talking about how, because if we've been out of power 100 hours in the last, 5 weeks, it's going to happen again. And we got a note today saying that the power could get shut off tomorrow. Well, this can't wait a long time. We have to put something in place, pretty quickly here.
I agree. And I think that if and close to home here with kids, right? But perhaps just knowing the best sources that we should go to. And as you said, Mark, at a county level. So it's something really close to my heart, because number one, even without the power, it's a freaking nightmare for these kids and the parents.
Rudy, I have a question for you. Instead of just insulating the lines on the Rosa circuit, I'm assuming now Yucca is going to be put on the Rosa circuit. Could those lines coming into Santa Rosa Valley be put underground?
Undergrounding is extremely expensive, and it really is cost prohibitive. It's much more efficient from a financial standpoint to installation on the wires as opposed to undergrounding. I think there's transmission lines on the pole line that runs down Santa Rosa Valley, so that would just add to the cost, and it's astronomical. Sorry to say.
If the wires were insulated, how much of an effect do you think that would have on PSPS shutdown?
So it would increase the thresholds under which we make the decision to de-energize the lines. So it would have an impact. That's the intent of the insulated wire. So I can't say definitively, you know, you would maybe cut the possibility in half. But I can tell you that based on the studies that we've done from year to year, in those areas where we have hardened our system, the incidences of public safety power shutoffs have been decreased by about 30 to 40%. So again, our goal is to continue to harden our system and to continue to lower that possibility of PSPS.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question, Rudy? In some cases, Edison puts together centers that people can go to charge their cell phones and pick up some potato chips or something. Could you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, so when we are anticipating public safety power shutoffs, we have either community crew vehicles or in some cases community resource centers where we've negotiated with community organizations or cities to man a facility or a van to provide small resources like battery, charging up your battery on your cell phone. We provide water and snacks. I think we have, at least in the past, we've also had a little rechargeable LED light that you keep plugged into your home. And when the lights go out, it comes on automatically, and it's got a long battery life. So, you know, it'll work for several hours. But we target those locations based on the possibility of a PSPS event occurring. This past event, we had one in Simi Valley, another one in Fillmore. Those were the two Ventura County locations. You know, again, it's dependent upon where we expect the most impact to be. So, but again, you know, they provide limited resources to folks that come out and visit. And in Simi Valley, I think we had upwards of 500 people come by over those couple days to get water, snacks, or to charge up their cell phone.
And then also, I think the state requires that people who are in the medical baseline, would be able to receive electricity, whether it's through a generator or what have you. So
those would be critical care customers. So there's different levels of medical baseline. Medical baseline can, it's a discounted rate for a certain number of kilowatt hours if you have medical equipment in the home. For those customers who rely on electricity for their survival, let's say they're on oxygen, and they meet certain income qualifications, and they have been subject to PSPS activity, we have a battery backup system that is a larger scale, system that will operate their equipment for a period of time. And that battery backup also comes with a solar charger that will charge the battery continually. So that's part of the information that I'm going to send out to, I'll send it to Venice, and then she can send it out to the MAC members who I hope will disperse it to the larger community. But we also have battery and generator rebate programs for those that may not meet the income qualifications to get this the generator for free.
Thank you. And we know it's always better to be able to use something other than a generator because of the diesel emissions and such can be pretty impactful to neighbors as well as noise too. Well, thank you for coming and sitting in the hot chair there.
We still have a lot more people who are hoping to ask questions, I think.
I don't have any hands raised.
Oh, okay.
It's my pleasure. And again, use the phone number that I provided if you have any follow-up questions or if you think of something after the fact.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
And he runs a mean 5K too.
So do you, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So now we've had the update on Southern California Edison on public safety power shutoffs. Is there any other public safety people who are sitting here waiting to talk?
No,
No. Okay.
not that I know. No, it was just Rudy.
Council comments on issues not on the agenda.
Ventura County Supervisor comments first.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, we're back to that again. All right, I'm doing good here. So we have a lot in store for you at this meeting. Venice has done yeoman's duty with that survey and tabulating the results, writing all the comments, the hundreds of comments. We learned next time maybe we'll do this electronically. The survey, people can just type it in, and then poor Venice doesn't have to do all of that. But we did get a significant number back, and so I think you'll enjoy getting those results, and that's a little later on in your agenda. But I just really want to thank her, and we've learned a lot about the community. We do these every once in a while, but it really does help to give us direction, you guys, and our office, on what we can do to assist the community. But I'm just amazed, that this is, how did you spend your holidays? She spent her holidays tabulating and writing all those answers out for you. So kudos to her. And there's still potentially more that you guys can do with it. And we'll talk about that later and who might do that. Also, we have new members, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Brown Act, but there's just some basic principles of the Brown Act that you don't want to reply all when we send an email, because you can't have a quorum of the MAC discuss anything that is coming or may come to the MAC, amongst yourselves outside of the public meeting. So no quorums, and that quorum can be defined as just two of you talking to one of you talking to a third, and then boom, three of you have talked, or have an intermediary do that. Or there's different ways, but the main point is that a quorum of you aren't privy to each other's opinions on what's coming before it comes to the MAC. And then also when you represent yourself in public, I haven't had any trouble with this MAC. Other MACs have gotten a little, and other volunteer committee members in different committees throughout the county, kind of representing themselves as that member when they're out in public and stating positions that may not actually reflect that in the MAC or whatever meeting that they are a member of. So just making sure that you always represent yourself as an independent individual. You're not speaking as a MAC member, unless of course you are speaking as a MAC member because you're representing the position of the MAC. There's a refreshing seminar that Venice can send you a link on, but those are the primary things, and we are responsible making sure that there's an agenda in advance, that people have an opportunity to speak to that agenda. And so I just want to make sure mostly that you don't end up having MAC members discussing things and dealing with issues outside of the meeting when those issues belong at the MAC. And that you don't do it as a quorum, essentially the quorum aspect. Community beautification events, CBE days. These are the days when, back in the old days before COVID, you all could take your electronic waste, your green waste, your bulky items and such to the school and be able to drop it all off. We're not doing that this year because of COVID, but you're going to end up getting information on a choice that you'll have that I guess probably they'll decide for you. And that is whether you'll be able to have like extra bulky items picked up or have a free day at the landfill. So that information will be coming to you. So you still get some benefit that you would have had had it not been for COVID. Speaking of COVID, which is like 90% of my work these days is just responding to issues related to COVID. Whew. Generally, people not happy, and that's because they want to get vaccinated, and there is, this much vaccine, and this many people who want it, and that's basically the problem. And then it's just getting that prioritization. I won't bore you with that, but if you are looking forward to being vaccinated, right now it's 75 years old or older, or you're in that tier with healthcare professionals or in long-term care facilities. But we did just recently, was it 2 days, opened it up for 75 and older about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 11 in the evening, it was filled. And again, that gets back to there's this much vaccine, and that many people just in that first tier too. So this isn't a problem specifically to our county or to the state of California. This is the federal government had promised all the states a certain amount. We did not get it. And so that is a difficult situation, and when you have a lot of people very anxious. However, those who did get in, I'm really happy for them. More will open up. If we're going to keep getting about 10,000 a week, we have so far put in people's arms somewhere, I think somewhere close to 30,000. I've heard estimates from 80 to 93% of all the vaccine we have is in people's arms. It's not like it's sitting anywhere in a storage. So it's all going into people's arms, and that's the way I want it. And then those are is vaccine wise. I know that there are a lot of frustrations obviously with everything from schools to businesses, and I can express those to you, but I'll let you sleep well tonight instead. there is a lot. I know that Rosemary had and obviously everything you can want to know about COVID is at our VC, stands for Ventura County, vcrecovers.org. Everything you want to know about. How are we right now? We're starting to plateau in the number of cases, potentially, though, we may not have done as much testing lately, but they're seeing a bit of a plateau. The hospitalizations are not, they are actually pretty high, and the most ever in our ICU is happening right now. But we did have a lot of cases, and we just expect in 2 weeks, that all mean hospitalizations will go up, and another 2 weeks, deaths will go up. But it's been pretty discouraging seeing how many people, more and more people dying from this. So that's discouraging, but it's nice to see that there's this potential plateau happening. We got out of the holidays, so hopefully that will help, and we'll continue to get those vaccinations in people's arms. And what if you're not over 75? When will you get your vaccine? Probably, I'm anticipating after a while we will open it up also to people who are over 65, and potentially people over 65 with other physical disabilities, and then everybody over 65. But at any rate, I don't anticipate that happening at least for a couple of weeks. So we'll see where that all goes. There's also a push to get law enforcement. In Los Angeles County, like the fire department's doing the vaccination, so they were offered it right away. Our law enforcement, our firefighters have not yet been required or offered that, so there's that. Rosemary had connected with us regarding some code compliance issues, and I know our code compliance division did follow up on that, and the owners were notified. And they said they would be out there to clean up that property. And if anybody has issues with something that they think is a code compliant issue, you can always contact us, or you can go directly to the county, which has a make a complaint code compliance line, and it's through our Ventura County Resource Management Agency. So the URL is vcrma.org/make-a-complaint-code-compliance, or just connect with Denise. That
Easy.
concludes mine. My here. I'm open for questions. We do have some exciting things to bring forward on the survey, so I'm looking forward to that. So it's going to be a pretty long meeting, I'm afraid, for you all.
Real quick question on the vaccine. So, you know, I'm anxious to get the first one, but how is the second one handled? Am I going to be anxious to try to get my second one on time, or is that?
No, I think you are given actually a date, an appointment, that whole thing's taken care of. Good question.
Maria,
Tonight that someone was able to sign on. Now they're 75, but they were able to sign on without a problem by going through their Kaiser insurance and Ventura County. I guess they went to Ventura County, said they were with Kaiser, and they're scheduled for like next week, which surprised me.
You know, there are other providers. The naval base I heard is doing like some veterans, and you know, so there are other providers besides the county that are doing this. And you know, UCLA Health is, you know, emailing me saying, hey, you know, we'll let you know when your turn is. So there are different organizations in addition to the county. We've also working with pharmacies, you know, and some of those pharmacies are doing well, some of them not so well. And obviously with the long-term care facilities and all that we're working with. But your doctor's office, that's the next thing we want to work with. We haven't started, you know, doing that, but we anticipate once we get the vaccine, you know, more vaccine, that we'll be able to open up more of these supply chains. Also to note, we have registered 850 people who have qualified to give the vaccine, you know, so a lot of volunteers coming out there. So, you know, if the state all of a sudden, you know, drops $1 million on us, we can take care of it. We'll open it up 24 hours a day and we'll do it 7 days a week. But we're just limited by the number of the amount of vaccine, unfortunately.
Speaking of volunteers, I mean, are you also looking for people that aren't actually administering, but guiding traffic or other helpers in the volunteer realm?
Yes, you can also at that same bcrecovers.org sign up to volunteer in general. There's two, one is for vaccinators. And then we also have a whole cadre of staff that become automatically disaster service workers. So the people checking you into the fairgrounds are employees of the library, and Dave Fleisch was out there. You all know Dave Fleisch, he's out there helping to check people in. And so it is interesting. We basically did a call out to everybody. So we're doing pretty good in that, but I just, you know, that the vaccinators have to have, you know, be dentist, Rosemary's daughter could do it, or dentist, doctor,
could do it.
Assistants, and even nursing students now. And so we got a whole requirements that you have to have, but once we get it, and many have already filled out the forms.
I wish she had some of that vaccine. So she just took her first shot because she's a dentist. She was on that list.
You know, the number of people that are getting COVID is just amazing too. So that will lessen the number who need the vaccine, right? But it's like 1 in 5 in some areas. So.
God. Okay. So we're done with our, thank you so much, Supervisor Parks. One thing I'd like to talk to you about later, or I guess investigate, is which, is it Henry Stern? Is it Jackie Irwin? Because I would really like to get a letter together from the MAC asking for assistance with these alternate services so that these power outages don't affect our community so hard. So I don't know who it is we need to talk to be able to get some action, or who is the person that we should really talk to.
Well, you know, I think Kevin had a really good point. If you're concerned that Cam Rosa's water, you know, pumps are off and therefore you can't, you know, use recycled water or something like that, that's something for Cam Rosa to talk to Cam Rosa about. You may want to reach out directly to Spectrum and ask them if there's another way that they can work their system. But that, more dealing with the private sector, I think, is where you'd go. The bigger issue when you're talking about Edison, if they're not going to do it, you know, maybe you can push the PUC, but they're generally very supportive of their those they regulate. So it's a tough one.
Okay. All right. I just think that as a MAC,
Yeah.
we should be doing a letter to support our community with what they're asking for.
Yeah, and that's what I think, get specific and then we can talk about where you sent it.
Well, specific is, Spectrum and Rosa. So.
And later on, also when we're talking about the survey, there's also, do you want to now like do some outreach to those companies because you've heard from your community? So
there's the opportunity.
That's what I'd like to do.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're going to council comments on issues not on the agenda.
No,
This was brought to my attention. I should have brought it up last meeting, and my resident neighbor reminded me again to ask the MAC to think about putting on the agenda, and I'm only bringing it up this time to get you guys thinking about it. Put on the agenda the thought that we might request a fire station be built in Santa Rosa Valley. And the reason is, the homeowners insurance, companies are bailing on us because proximity to fire station is a big deal with them. If we could get a fire station in the valley, this person thinks that suddenly the insurance companies might reconsider insuring us. And they even suggested a location. They thought the Rancho Santa Rosa clubhouse parcel would be good. I don't know if Rancho Santa Rosa homeowners feel that way, but I was thinking of that triangular parcel across from Glen side. Rosemary, the guy that owns that parcel, right? It's a triangular piece of ag land. It's next to Roos Bridge, underpass bridge, right, Mark? You familiar with
yeah, I believe that's part of the Nicholson property.
That's part of Nicholson's property.
So I always
The
felt like
triangle, yes.
that he wanted to do something with that parcel, and I don't know if he'd be, I don't know, this is just a brainstorming.
Well,
Let's,
the fire department owns a parcel of land, I thought,
Yeah, they own the parcel where the CERT truck is.
where the CERT trailer is. They already own one.
Yeah, it's just the $25 million that you're missing.
That's the issue, yes.
Right.
How
Well-
long did it take you to get that one in Lake Sherwood? How many, 20 years?
Which one? I don't, the one in Lake Sherwood's still there.
Okay. Oh, I guess it was protecting it rather than
Yeah.
keeping
No,
it rather than building it, yeah.
They sometimes will move fire stations to a better location, for example, but it's still, that's about the going rate.
well, is it worth putting on the agenda to brainstorm how we might ask for it at least?
Well,
I think probably better would be to ask the supervisor if there's any plans, and then we can tell you if they have any thoughts on it. They have their own capital improvement plans, and they go out into the future.
the fire department does.
Yes.
The other thing is that the premise of the question was that this would make people either have reduced insurance or be insurable. Has anybody actually checked that?
Yeah, I mean, they've been told that directly, that we don't want to insure you because you're too far from a fire station.
Okay.
I mean, I know that was asked when I applied for insurance. That's one of the things you tell them, like, where are you, and where's your closest fire station? Where's your closest fire hydrant is asked too, in the application
Yeah. Our fire department also does it differently than other fire departments in that all of our trucks are on GPS, and so it's the closest fire engine that gets sent to your place, not the one that is in the fire station necessarily. So it has certainly helped our response times.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up, are we going to talk about mailbox thefts? We didn't have the sheriff here, but we really need to nab those guys. I mean, they hit Priscilla Road pretty well, like night after night. Then they moved up to Bridlewood. So these on next door, it's all the rage of these mailbox thefts and
Mhm.
1 or 2 people. And
If you want to send me that, I can forward that over to the sheriff's office.
well, they
And
already know about it,
There's
but
also on, that's also on the survey too. So this could all lead to lots of follow-up items, some suggestions on what you can do about it. But the actual thefts itself, that's obviously a crime. The sheriff's department needs to know about it. They may already know about it. And we didn't have a deputy here this evening, but hopefully at your next MAC, huh?
Right.
okay.
All right, any other council members want to make some comments?
Okay.
All right. Let's go on then to public comments on items not on the agenda.
Go ahead and raise your hand if you have any comments, public. Or wave at me or. Okay. I don't see any.
I thought Maria did.
Maria? Maria's iPad is not, I need to merge you with a phone number. I think she's on 2. She's on a phone and a device. So I just need to know which number to merge her with.
Okay.
Or if you want, she can email me and I can make sure. Oh, I just got an email. Oh, nope. It's not from Maria. Not from Maria. Maria, Vanice, VANISE dot
Oh, I see.
Terry.
Ah, all right. You know what? She said she's camera shy.
Oh, that's okay. I just need to know if she wants to speak. I just need to know I can unmute her. Which one?
Okay.
What's her phone number?
Yeah, so her iPad, your iPad, Maria, is asking me to merge with audio. So. Or she can email me and I can read
Let me see if I can,
her comment.
let me see if I can reach her. Hi, are you on your iPad right now? Is that you, Maria's iPad? Okay, it's Rosemary. They're wanting just, if you want to be camera shy, you can just talk. All right, so on your iPad, just go ahead and push unmute, right?
Well, she needs to merge with audio. She doesn't have any audio.
Oh, you don't have, okay. Okay, hold on, she's doing it right now.
Or just put her on speakerphone.
There you go.
Okay. You know, I could just put you on, you can see them all, that's good. Okay, I could just put you on speaker, so hold on one sec.
There you go.
Okay, this is Maria.
Fair enough.
This is Maria Nelson, who lives on Priscilla.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can you all hear?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Maria, talk.
Okay, hello. I'm glad to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you.
They hear you.
Okay, great. Oh, so you want to know what's going on?
Right. I know that you'd said you had some concerns, so the idea is for you to be able to voice those concerns.
Okay, absolutely. So we are on a shared private road with 4 people. At the end of our road are the Simmons family, who are in escrow with Newport Academy, which is a teen rehabilitation treatment center. They just had their inspection today, so we don't know how that went. But all the rest, the 3 of us other neighbors do oppose this. So we don't know how we go about it. Being that we are a shared private residential street, we don't want a business on our road. So we're looking at a land surveyor that might tell us more about what our landlines are. We have an assessor's map that says that their driveway actually is on our property, but that's what we'd like to confirm. And we'd like to know, do we need a land use attorney to fight this? How do we go about it?
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. okay, so what you're asking about isn't something that the MAC specifically can address.
Okay.
I don't, Linda, am I right? No, yeah.
I generally, these type of situations are allowed by state. And the county itself isn't the regulatory body, it's the state. And the state allows for these type of entities. So I guess as long as it's a legitimate entity, that's probably one way to look at it. But we obviously can't give you advice on, should you get an attorney or not, or any of that kind of thing. But unfortunately, these group home type of things, and the same way with some schools at homes, we aren't, as a county, able to regulate them. They're not within our purview. It's the state allows for them.
Now, the state allows
Isn't it up to 6
Yes.
Residents, right? There's a limit.
We had one as concern a couple years ago in Somas. It was up to 6 clients, and then it supersedes the county's authority.
Yeah,
But do they have to get a conditional permit?
no,
because
the state law protects any residential care home. There's actually law regarding this, and I can send that to you. But unfortunately, this is a state level item and not one that can be helped at the county or local level.
Wow, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll call you later and give you the information that I can provide you. But unfortunately, unless there's something where they're abusing an easement or something, I don't know of any other ways, honestly. But anyway,
Okay.
but unfortunately, it's not a MAC issue.
Okay, well, I appreciate all of your input. You guys are just awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Maria.
nice to meet you, Maria. Okay.
Okay, any other residents who want to raise their hands to give us comments?
I'm glad we could get her on. I don't see any other hands, so moving on.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to the Measure O and hemp ordinance update.
Okay, the vote, I'll just cut to the chase. The vote was 4-1. I voted against it. They didn't do the half mile that you had requested, only a quarter mile. I did get to throw in a couple of nice things in there, which is you can't exempt greenhouses, before, if it was a greenhouse within that quarter mile, that would be allowed. I got that tossed out. So the benefit, I guess, is the fact that you are an existing community. Most of Santa Rosa Valley falls in this existing community. And then, there's some areas just outside. And an existing community is where that buffer would start. So no one can come with a hemp farm within a half mile of the existing community of Santa Rosa Valley. And we also took out all of Tierra Hada Valley. So that was a big concern, but now that can't happen either. So when you think about your geographical location, you don't have to worry about anyone from, Tierra Hada Valley area. And then as you go off and towards the city of Camarillo, it'll have to be at least, a quarter mile away from the where your existing community ends. It's also a quarter mile from schools. So I'm not sure where schools might be, but the city boundary of Camarillo, they'd have to be a quarter mile away from that and a quarter mile away from where your existing community ends in Santa Rosa Valley. And we have a map we can share with you.
Oh, yeah.
So you're just down to basically some areas in that section.
I'm wondering how much is left in Santa Rosa Valley.
Yeah, I did kind of look at a map. There is, hey, you can put it on the screen.
Yeah, I can.
Noticing you have that, but I did put that map just to show you. And that is, the one area, and there is certain requirements that will make it less of an impact as it was when it was in Tierra Hada Valley near Moore Park. For example, how quickly you have to turn it under the ground if after you have harvested, how quickly you have to harvest it after it's bloomed. just a whole set of requirements to make it less impactful. And so that's kind of where it stands. And we also are dealing with Measure O, which I guess is also part of this agenda item. Measure O is the ability to do cannabis. And again, it's the same quarter mile, coincidentally. Okay, so this is what you have on your map. In yellow, I believe, is the community, the existing community, quote unquote.
Right.
So it's a half mile from that yellow.
Quarter mile.
Quarter mile.
Sorry, right, excuse me.
mile.
Right.
I
And
want
over
that's in my head.
Like the Gary
this
land.
is Blanchard right here.
Yeah. So
and
the
so
quarter
up-
mile,
Yucca?
did you mark off, you don't happen to have marked off where the quarter mile is to
No,
the west of this?
I don't
I
have that.
I mean,
I haven't looked at it, but you can kind of get an idea.
yeah, I mean, it's at least a mile, I would say, between the existing community and Camarillo city.
Yeah.
So that
There's gonna
means
be
there's
an
probably
area-
a half a mile swath that is not covered.
Right.
It's all ag over there.
Yes.
I know, that's worrisome.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's the prevailing wind, except for this week, comes from there into the existing community.
And that will smell.
That's the prevailing wind.
You know, I made a map. Can I be, let's see how tech savvy we are, because I actually have made a map of what you're talking about.
Yeah, you can share.
That idea. Okay, I'll send it to you, Denise, and then you can put it up.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yep.
I did notice something in the newspaper recently about Santa Barbara Carpinteria situation, that they were jumping for joy because I know, Linda, you don't think it's possible, but somebody has invented something that on a greenhouse really does reduce the odor coming out of the greenhouse. So sort of technology, you're talking about technology. So that's part of the solution, that with the
Cost for
trees
technology.
Yes, and that was something that was a real big point I was making, you know, that to do the best available technology, odor control technology, I must just, yeah. All right, so I sent it over.
Did you say, okay, it's coming through the airwaves. Apparently.
Just hopefully not like the odor will, right?
Mhm.
This does worry me. It's funny. I wish Santa Rosa Valley had been protected like Tierra Rada Valley had been.
I also, as far as odors, you know, on the Gary properties or whatever, when they dump the mushroom,
Right.
that smell. So we have experienced smells coming from that direction before, temporarily, but man, that raised a big stink in the residents near there.
I would point out, though, here's another kind of benefit for you in terms of dealing with this impact. Measure O can only grow cannabis inside of existing greenhouses. So they can't build any greenhouses there and put cannabis in it. And it's pretty darn expensive to do that for hemp, because hemp doesn't get the kind of money that cannabis does. So, you know, it may not be that there are that many greenhouses in that area. Well, in terms of Measure O, hemp is another issue, because that can be grown outside of a greenhouse as long as it's at least a quarter mile away. So where
it can be grown?
where I drew that line, is the quarter mile where you start seeing the black number. That's the edge. So that area.
Wait, I don't see it.
From here to here,
Uh-huh. Oh,
that's
Okay.
that's the quarter mile.
No.
From here to here?
Yes.
Okay. Wrong
so
edge.
that Gary Ranch still has a large portion that they can do in hemp or cannabis.
Well, we can hope that it won't be cannabis unless it's an existing greenhouse. And we
Okay,
can
can
hope
be
that
hemp.
blueberries are worth more than hemp, you know?
And a hoop house is not a greenhouse, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Has to be a permanent structure in the ground, cement and all that.
This worries me.
So I think you're pretty well protected unless there are existing greenhouses there. As far as the Measure O issue is, the hemp issue is the one that
It's going to affect us.
it could. And the good news about it, again, I'm trying to look at the lighter side, is that the Board of Supervisors oversees that one. Measure O, we can't do anything about without
Right.
going to ballot. But if there is, a problem with Jerry does do it and you end up with hemp there and there's a lot of complaints, then it's only good for 1 year, his permit. And then they have to come back again. At that time, there could be such an outcry that we can change the rules.
Oh my gosh. So basically, Tierra Hada Valley has no hemp anymore, and we're the only ones who has the possibility of it here?
Oh, there.
Could you hear that?
Yes, she
Yeah,
was
I
hearing.
did. And no, you're only talking about your neighborhood. The county is, hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland, right? So,
That's true.
Yeah, all of Las Posas Valley. That's all presumably.
No, I understand. This is going to be a huge issue everywhere. But how did Tierra Hada Valley get excluded completely from it?
because they said there was a topographical feature, which is it forms a bowl. And if you want to go listen to the board meeting, I made a pretty good discussion about how you're in a bowl too. But that's the one focus if you think about it, and pretty much the entire East County, is that section. And you just have a couple property owners, and they may not want to do hemp because it's not as financially profitable, and it would bother a lot of residents, and they don't want to really do that either.
Well, the good thing the only thing I can see is, I don't know how much is controlled by Gary Ranch, but they also have a wedding venue there that will be negatively affected.
Right, it would affect them too. And that's kind of it with.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that I was super surprised. Truthfully, I thought the board was going to do the half mile for sure, but they basically eliminated all the opposition. Because once they said no Tierra Hada Valley, that's where all the opposition was. I had an area in Somas too that are concerned, and I was fighting for them in Santa Rosa Valley.
Thank you. Thank you for trying. I just wish that half acre, I thought that half mile was going to go through.
Me too.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. We can always change it.
Okay, well, our next battle.
Hopefully not.
All right.
Right.
I have a question regarding Measure O. Do we have a good handle or some database of greenhouses that are existing, and we know, okay, these are the ones that are allowed in Measure O, and anything outside of that database, somebody either built it after the fact or it's not eligible for Measure O?
You need a permit to build a permanent structure. So that's the real easy way of doing it. And I don't think it's a good idea to do an inventory, because you're kind of like signaling these people, hey, now you can put, cannabis in there. So I'd rather not stir that pot.
We do have glass greenhouses in Santa Rosa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying they can't do it still because it's within the quarter mile of the community? Or not?
Existing greenhouses that are at least a quarter mile away.
Okay. I don't think there's any greenhouses in that corridor.
No, there aren't. They're all inside the existing community.
Yeah, the only one I think of off the top of my head is like at Blanchard, I think, or Duval. It's one of those streets.
Yeah.
That's inside.
That area.
Yeah.
But
That area is not zoned properly.
And then then their Measure O is basically off the list then, and the only potential is hemp. And like I said, it's just not as profitable.
Well, let's hope the growers feel that way. Okay. Action items. Santa Rosa Valley Community Survey presentation and 2002-1 MAC goal setting.
Take it away, Denise.
Yay. Okay, let me share this with you.
And why don't you?
Am I doing this?
Why not? You could
I
do
know.
it in your sleep.
You did all the hard work.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't think I was gonna do it.
Oh, look at this.
Let
Oh,
me
how
see.
pretty.
Let me see if I can do it a slideshow. That's what I want.
Right.
Yay. So I kind of grouped, I didn't go quite follow the survey, but every question from the survey is in the PowerPoint, but I kind of grouped them. So this is just generally community satisfaction, and just, you know, what your community is. So about average 18 years that people have lived here. That was the average. The median was 18. 83% very satisfied. Really, I mean, and then only 15 moderately. So everyone's pretty happy. You have a very small percentage that's neither satisfied or moderately dissatisfied.
Wow.
For the most part, everyone's quiet. And you'll know, if you remember from the comments, I was surprised. There's a lot of comments about dogs barking. So it made me think we need to get more information about, you know, animal services. But these were all the streets that were mentioned in that number 7, that question. But road noise was the number one, kind of what people said was annoying to them. And then dogs barking, and these were the streets. I will also send this to you at the end. So if I'm moving quickly, it's just because I know it's getting late. So you can, biggest concerns I did from most to least. This was one where you could prioritize it, but some people didn't always put a priority. Some people just checked it. So I wanted to capture both. So this number up here, this graph is how many times that particular concern was checked, whether it was given a priority or not. Just this was how many times people chose this particular concern. So as you can see, traffic was the number 1 issue that people chose. Fire safety was number 2, then water, road, and so on. Then I went to the priority and I averaged if they gave a priority, pulling out all the checks to give you a better idea. This is what the priorities range. So it was about a 2, a 3. Because there was such a wide range, I don't find that the averages tell you as much information. I don't find them to be that particularly telling, but I definitely think what's telling is how many times a concern was checked. So I think this graph here is much more telling. If you pull out the water issue, cost was the biggest concern, followed by availability and quality. And just stop me if you have questions. From the written comments, I just kind of pulled out these, the main themes. Obviously traffic, road safety, noise, weed. A lot of people mentioned the apps, as you call it. And what I found was very interesting is several people want to turn San Rosa into a toll road. It was mentioned many times.
I saw that.
But we can't.
It was mentioned many times. So water, the high, you know, ag, people want ag. I mean, you know, again, you can discuss this as a MAC, whether or not you want to bring these issues to these particular service companies, but it was mentioned. Fire safety, evacuation routes, weed, debris, dead brush. Obviously people want to keep Santa Rosa Valley rural. So keeping the fields, agriculture, maintaining the trails, that was a big issue, maintaining trails. As we spoke today, telecommunications choice and reliability. Those were the 2 big issues. And obviously Southern California Edison was a big issue. And then another one that came out that was, I had not thought of, not heard of, is the noise from the flight patterns. And as if you remember, that was something that was discussed a lot. And of course, barking dogs. Dangerous driving, speeding, the main one, illegal passing, large trucks, tailgating, and so on. Down here from the comments, these are the ones that were most written about are obviously the peak rush hours. Those were the streets: Santa Rosa Road, Moore Park, Hill Canyon, Yucca, and East Las Cosas. Other streets were mentioned, but these 3 bullet points were the ones that were mentioned the most. In terms of other, this question here, other, the 7% that people wrote about was the apps. People are very upset that the apps put drivers on Santa Rosa Road. Noise, wanting additional speed limit signs, asking to reduce the speed limit. Let me move this here so I can see what I wrote here. The need for passing lanes, which, you know, again, you guys are well versed in Santa Rosa Road, so you know, make of it what you will. I don't know that we can do passing lanes, but distracted driving. But these are things, you know, you can also distracted driving for sure. Slow wait times at lights and running red lights. Okay, the services. So this was another one that we asked to rate. Averages did not tell me anything. So I didn't even add it. It really doesn't tell you what I pulled out was how many times someone said it was excellent, how many times someone said it was good, fair. So I think you'll see most people are good, you know, generally satisfied with their services. So this wasn't actually, this particular graph was not in the one I sent out. I did this after the fact because to me, the averages didn't tell me a lot. But this at least gives you a little more information on what people are happy with and what they're not happy with. Street maintenance was actually not too bad.
I say,
I'm sorry?
you know, it's funny. I mean, I'm happy that the people feel this way. I mean, I'm surprised broadband and cellular service wasn't more negative.
Right. And you also have to remember, not everybody fills out every question. So when you know, in the paper, in the first, the one that shows the survey, I do give what the percentages are based on. So how many of the 286 that we received, how many people actually answered that question? And that's what the percentage is based on. But some that were multiple choice, I can't give you a percentage or an accurate percentage. So, so this one, I have to keep moving you guys down. These were the written comments based on the services. Again, we had a lot of people ask for trash service on residential streets. Again, that's something to be, you know, you'd have to take up with the company, you know, but flood control, certainly we can pass that along if you want. Like power shutoffs, water, street maintenance. Now we've asked for street maintenance. I think that was one of our, we asked Mr. Fleisch about that, but they really don't do that for aesthetic. They only do it if it's impacting an easement. If you remember, Kevin, I think that was your question once. So, but we can always pass on. I'm happy to pass on any information that you want me to. And then of course, better communication services, fiber, more competition. A lot of people ask for more competition, more choice. Active living. This was, got a lot of walkers and joggers. I was surprised equestrian wasn't as high. So I thought that could just be me. But this was the way people filled it out. The written, people really like the idea of a co-op and a farmer's market. Kids activities, these were all in this question, written suggestions, if you remember correctly. This is some of the things that were put in that section. Having exercise activities, golfing, swimming.
Are you talking about these things being at the park?
Yeah. So because it was kind of, yes, it was kind of pushed in. I think people kind of conflated this with the park question. So these were written under this question, but it was conflated with the park. Yeah. Because if you notice, there was actual questions on the Santa Rosa Valley Park or Santa Rosa Regional Park. The one thing takeaway I got from this, and we'll see from the comments, is there were quite a few people who said they didn't even know about it.
I
no.
was surprised at that too. There were
Yeah.
a lot of people who didn't even know there was a park. That's pretty frightening.
Right, didn't know where it was, didn't even and people that, you know, I know it's, I didn't cross-reference here, but people that had actually lived in, you know, because I see the complete survey. So people had lived for several years had said they didn't know where the park was. So
They want a dog park. Is that it?
that was
Picnic areas and a dog park.
I love all of those ideas.
Yes, dog park was interesting because it had a lot of people check it. As you'll see, it's the number 2. It's the second most checked, other than here, this enhanced picnic areas. But it also, in the comments, garnered a lot of no's. Not as much as overnight campsite.
Yeah.
That one really got a lot of do not do this.
Oh.
But dog park was, and I can always go back at any time and count up the number. You know, I can do further deep dives into the information for you if you have questions, because this is really kind of the first pass overlook. We can do more deeper dives into it.
Well, I'd love to enhance this as a dog park, because I know there's so many residents that are honestly driving to dog parks in Camarillo and other areas to get to one. And I think that'd be a great thing to have in our park.
And also in this, how often do you visit San Roosevelt Park? I noticed this particular question, it wasn't answered a lot. You know, like it was, in fact, a lot of people skipped it. So I don't know if it's because they didn't know or they just didn't care or so. And these were some of the questions that were specific to the Santa Rosa Regional Park for additions. So people want kid playground activities. A lot of people saying don't touch it. That's why I had that as number 2 there. Don't touch it, leave it. Tennis, basketball, pickleball. You had your equestrians asking for more trails, trail improvements, music venue. And I suppose, I know, I thought of tropical paradise. I thought, well, if you did it on a Sunday afternoon, maybe, I don't know, but
more ways mentioned possibly is something we can do.
I liked the bike repair stand.
Oh.
And so these were the comments of notes that I mentioned. So no knowledge of park. There were several comments and we didn't have a big opposition to the overnight campsite, and a real push to maintain a rural atmosphere. That came up a lot. Keep it rural, keep it, because that's connected to the next point, which is the overcrowding and lack of parking came up.
I think they're confusing the parking owned by Thousand Oaks at the bridge and the park with that concern about lack of parking. And it's never full. The park,
right, and that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
No, I wouldn't put a lot of the judge. You know.
That's a good point. Yeah, they don't specify. So, like I said, the comments I wrote down word for word.
Right, I'm just saying that's what I think is happening there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so here's all those questions we asked, yes or no. Oops, oh shoot. Sorry, hold on a second. I gotta go back. There we go. So 74% were happy to look at other options for weed control rather than glyphosates. People wrote in comments. That's why there are comments. They didn't all, you know, they would just write it on the side. So I took those down as well. So there were definitely safety concerns, making sure whatever we do use is effective, and they did not want any cost to the residents if you're going to use something else. So these were some of those comments. Dark sky ordinance. You certainly didn't get 50%. You got more people saying yes than no, but you have a lot of undecided. So that's, you know, really
didn't seem like a very popular thing.
Yeah, you didn't have an overwhelming,
no,
as you will see in the next slide. whether this one over here with the street sweeping. That did garner over 50% saying, no, we're not interested in that. Fewer undecideds. So
So the bus one is saying what 93% of people are saying they would take a bus to Thousand Oaks?
So let's see. So no, these are percentages because it was multiple choice. And so I can't give a percentage because people could choose more than one answer. So it's hard to know how many.
Okay. By the way, how many responses were there to the whole survey?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
How many responses were there to the survey?
200, there were 286.
Okay.
286 responses. So 93 people would take it to Thousand Oaks. 65 would take it to, now these could be the same person who chose all four. So that it's hard to gauge how many people.
So that's 93 out of 286 responses.
Sure. 65 out of 280, yeah.
Yeah.
But you did get a lot of people. I mean, and these are the places they would use it, but then you also had this.
Would not use it.
Would not use it all.
It's the biggest response, right?
Right. But what I found funny is in some of interesting, I should say, and some of they would check all this. I'd go to Thousand Oaks, I'd go to see me, I'd go shopping, but I wouldn't use it. They would check them all. So this was I think there's an elegance in doing an online because you can not allow people to do things. But anyway, this was a multiple choice question, so they had the option to check them all. So
they don't want street sweeping if it costs them any money. That's the end of that.
There were a lot of comments about that.
I saw that.
Yes. And then let's see. Oh, this is the final one, and I keep having to move you guys. A lot of in that final question, 18, what your last comments really just reiterated what people had already said throughout the survey. Again, Santa Rosa Road, fire safety, limited development, barking dogs, and hemp concerns. So those were kind of the main issues that jumped out. You have a lot of, you have quite a few people willing to volunteer. So I have these lists of these people who volunteered their information for
the list of people for the emergency response team as well as the radio network.
Yes. So I just need to.
Eric Peterson may be online still too. And if he is, he also needs to get that one for the emergency radio network.
Right. So I'm going to get that, since this was my first priority. So once, now that I've done this, I'm going to get those lists to you. I'm going to separate those. And then you can contact them. You'll have them so you can move forward with that. And then, we have all these 63 residents willing to participate, and so we'll have to give them some activities to participate in.
Right.
They can come to my yard.
Well, and I think it was this might have even been one of the comments that said, we used to have community street cleaning days. And I think
we did. Yes.
And, we don't do those anymore. So, they do remember.
Well, the problem was that there was two different sets of people that organized it, but then they've either moved away or they stopped doing it. I think people would do that again, and then we worked through, obviously this is maybe not something we want to do during COVID, but it really is a question of have somebody taking on the organization of it. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then E.J. Harrison gave us places to dump it and all of that. It was pretty effective.
Right. And even when we have the probation guys come out, it's just that they're not doing that right now with COVID.
Right. So yeah, that's right.
No, there's a lot.
Giving us a lot of restrictions right now.
Yeah. Wow, Denise, this is amazing. You did a
This is
fantastic
wonderful.
job. Really, thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. And again, if you, I'm going to send this out to you. And if you look at it and go, hey, I'd like a little more information on this or that, I'm happy to do deeper dives into the information. This was just kind of my first presentation of it. I'm happy to, and I'll put this up, we'll get this up so that everyone can see it and look through it in depth.
Okay.
Oh,
Great.
All right.
And don't
Now,
worry.
Bridlewood Debris Basin Removal Project. Had a question.
I think, did Michael want to?
Yeah, I had a question. So thank you, Venice, so much for doing the survey results. And I think it really gave us a much better idea of what the community, what's important to the community. I read all the comments. It was very interesting to hear what people said.
My favorite one was mind your own business, by the way.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt, Michael, but it was so fun.
So I wanted to get people's input here on the MAC about the dark sky ordinance. It didn't hit 50%. It was just shy of that. I mean, is it dead, or is it something we still can look at, or?
It got a majority. It just didn't get an overwhelming majority.
Right. There were 25% who said they were undecided on that. I will say this, during the power outage, I went outside and looked at the sky and I thought, this is my opportunity. What would a dark sky ordinance do? And I would say you can see with the naked eye, about 10 times as many stars. And I had just some inexpensive binoculars. I could see thousands of stars during the power outage. And so it did give me some idea that yes, a dark sky ordinance could be effective, even if it was only Santa Rosa Valley, because Santa Rosa Valley was dark, but Camarillo was still light. Most of Thousand Oaks was still light, Simi Valley, and a lot of those areas are still light. So you couldn't see the stars on the horizon heading towards those locations, but if you look straight up, it really did improve the night sky quite a bit. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I had the same thought this week. As a matter of fact, it was fascinating to see this guy.
And a couple of comments, and I know Lori would have liked to have gotten the survey and apparently didn't. And others say, well, you could have done it electronically, which, oh yeah, that would have saved a lot of time of Venice's time. But I think there was also an element of having this thing in front of you and a pen, and we were getting everybody, commenting like crazy, and it was a good return rate. But I think that will be the last time we'll do a mailed one, because it's so much easier for us to calculate, and put it together. And probably for some residents, it would be easier for them to do it that way too. Regarding the dark sky ordinance, when we moved forward with a survey that we did on this in Yerba Buena, Malibu, Yerba Buena area, there was a gentleman out there named Van Vibber who really primed his area, and he had the email list, he explained all about it. And so they were really well educated about it before they ever got the questionnaire. And they all came in with like 73 or 75% support. So there is something to educating people about something that may turn their eyes differently. Also, looking at some of the survey responses at the park, I know that our park department probably would be leaning towards doing camping because it's a revenue source, and they're always big on making money to help run their operations. So if you have a large segment, as Venice was finding, that is opposing camping, then it's something to put on your radar. And the thing, the bike repair station, that is something that we have been able to get out in certain parts of the community. A firefighter with our fire department. Did you know he just retired? Jack Nosco. He is a great bicyclist, and he helped work with us and got bike repair stations at all the fire stations, or most of the fire stations that are on major routes. but I'm also have encouraged the parks and the national parks, state parks to get these up there because it's nice, to get a little bit more air in your tires and things like that if you need to. So that I thought was a good idea at the park. And then also, I'm not exactly sure, I haven't been out there since the arrangement was made that they're providing free parking now. The Conejo, the city of Thousand Oaks is providing free parking at Santa Rosa Park. I don't know if there's like some signage difference, but it may be that people have been, it's by habit, they're not going to park in there because it costs and they're going to go park in that lot. That might be why people might be concerned. I'm not sure what the situation is out there, and I welcome hearing about that.
Well, I've been out there recently and I can tell you that they still primarily go to the Thousand Oaks parking lot, obviously, because it's, right next to the bridge. There's not like a big sign that says free parking, put it that way. And if you didn't know, I'm surprised enough people don't even know there's a park, let alone that there's free parking. So I think they haven't gone out of their way to signpost it in big letters, free parking in Santa Rosa Park.
Okay, and if it's crowded parking and maybe people are being turned away from the other lot because it's filled, maybe that is necessary to do. Especially if they have like the station as you're driving in, it looks like you have to pay and all that too.
I think there should be, before you get to the entrance into Santa Rosa Park, there should be a sign saying free parking and an arrow that way.
Okay, thank you. That's information we didn't have, and we'll suggest that.
Great.
I'll suggest again that if we put that fire station right on Santa Rosa Road, we could put the bike there too.
Then you can get your bike station. Good idea.
You just put the cost up. So now it's 25 million and 2,000.
Louise, did you want to?
I just wanted to say that I was really interested in the dark sky ordinance and wondering, if we can like go ahead with that, looking more into it and maybe educating the community about it. Because there was 25% that, was undecided, probably because they don't know much about it.
And that's good to know that's where you need to go start with education.
And maybe something as simple as what a couple members have talked about is, that's a nice little letter. If you had a newsletter or something to point to, hey, you guys take an opportunity to go look at the sky when we had that blackout, just kind of get it in their minds. But it can be tailored in a way that maybe won't be as objectionable, but some people just want their lights and they want to be able to shine them up their street, up their trees and all that.
Well, in the comments, people said, they wondered about security issues. So that's a valid.
And this allows, it exempts security lighting. So I think
for
education. Yeah.
Okay. So other things that you can do with this, and you may just want to digest this and come back at your next meeting and discuss it some more. But for example, if you see concerns with a different sister agency, if you will, Rosa or whomever, and you would like them to come and talk to you, and you can mention where what people are thinking. I was thinking at least with the transit information, that would be good to give to the Transportation Commission and our county transportation department that has buses, so they know that there is interest. I don't know if Vinny sent to you, but they have the unmet transit needs hearing coming up, and you can actually just email the Transportation Commission, hey, we'd like to be able to take a bus to shopping in Thousand Oaks. If 93 people did that, you may end up with a bus, or shuttle bus, and think of it as a smaller vehicle. But that is definitely the information that we think would be good, and I leave it to you to advise us if you think that would be a good idea to let the transportation executive director see the results on your transit information at least too.
And I'll send that information about the unmet needs. I just got it today. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, when the survey went, where the people who responded to the survey and said, I'd like to ride a shuttle to Thousand Oaks. I'm wondering what kind of a shuttle they are thinking about, that it would pick them up at their house, or it would be at some sort of bus stop somewhere. I mean, just the mechanics of it, I'm not exactly, given the how far houses are spaced apart here, how that actually would even work.
Yeah, we have something called Dial a Ride, and that's, a very expensive transportation and difficult to, get. Though I think it's legally it's provided to people with disabilities. But I would just think people would have the thought that, if you had a bus in Santa Rosa Valley, I'd go down Santa Rosa Road and go either up the hill or out to Moore Park or down to Camarillo. And if we wanted to get one, I think that's probably what you would have. And if it's something that may just be a rerouting, for example, of a bus that's currently doing 118, maybe can do Santa Rosa one time a day or something, and back again. So it's up to them to take a look at how they could put it together.
Someone in the chat is asking if we can still, people can still fill the survey out. I mean, I can continue to add data in. So if, this is just up to the date. Actually, the date was January 8th, but I accepted up to the January 11th, I think was when I had to stop and start looking through the data, but I can still, do an addendum with additional information if you want. That someone had asked in the chat. So it's up to you.
Sure.
I can send it out. I don't know. We don't have it electronically, but I can always.
People can email you with their mailing address and you can send them one, right?
That, or I could probably do like, because it turn into a PDF, make it fillable.
Oh, right.
So we could do it that way. But you can just email me. My email, let me share it again.
I can post it on Santa Rosa Valley Voice and in the next door.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
If
So
you send it to me, I can't make an attachment of those.
No.
well, here's my email. It's down here, venice.terry@ventura.org.
Yeah. But if there was a link maybe that we could go to.
Sure.
Rather
on the
than
website.
Right. Do a link to the PDF.
Sure.
And then I could post it on Nextdoor and Facebook. Okay.
The only thing is I can't, well, you do run the risk of people filling it out twice. It could change your data, but
Yeah, that we don't want.
they might think it's a new survey or a different survey, or just want to fill it out again. That's the only risk you run.
Okay.
Rather than having them contact me individually.
Okay. Well, whatever you want, whatever's fair for you.
We can think about it.
I'm just trying to keep you from getting inundated.
Sure. But I know Rosario was the one who was asking, and certainly if you want to contact me and email me, and Lori as well, I'm happy to send it to you and we can do an addendum.
Okay. All right. Now, the Bridlewood Debris Basin Removal Project and Equestrian Trail.
Okay, hold on. Hold, please. Let me get this. Okay. I'm going to share again.
Now, I have additional information regarding this, and Mark's aware of this. Hello?
I did not know. Remind me what your additional information is.
Remember the call from one of the residents who felt that this basin was going to cause a problem down the road? And they actually contacted the county, and the county had some concerns, I guess. Do you know what I'm talking about now?
I know what you're talking about. I didn't know the second part, that you'd contacted the county. And what are the county concerns?
They contacted the county.
Okay.
And I guess they have some severe concerns. I guess one of them said that they got flood insurance because of their concerns about how this basin is going to,
Are you talking about the county had concerns or the person who had concerns?
the person had concerns, but when the county walked past where this goes, the county person had concerns. That's what I was told.
Was that county person in the flood in WPD?
You know what? I'm sorry. I do believe so, because it was the person who apparently had gotten one of the issues was, I was told by again, this is secondhand information, so I hate repeating it. I was told that the county person had said that when they did this plan and they made this change, they had never checked whether or not the earth had been the same as it had been 20 years ago. And some of the earth had been moved, and they are now concerned about the flowage of water beyond this basin.
Well, that would be a WPD problem from the very beginning.
Correct. It is, and they're the ones who are supposedly investigating it further.
Okay.
So I just wanted to throw that in so that people are made aware of that.
All right. We would be very, first of all, what I wanted to talk about was very much smaller than that issue, but you are reporting stuff, secondhand.
Correct.
So if there is, are you able to get some firsthand information about this?
I can ask who the person was at the county. Denise, are you aware of this at all, what I'm talking about? No, okay.
No.
All right, let me try to find out who it was at the county that supposedly said all this stuff and was the person who came out.
All right.
They said they had concerns about earth being moved?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, like in my neighborhood, there's the flood control channels go behind people's houses, and people have constructed things that have had some obstructions, as well as some areas off of Santa Rosa Road that I guess they said the dirt had been changed, and the flow of water could be a problem because of the changes that were done.
All right.
So,
let's try and find out what this information is, because it doesn't seem very specific at this point.
Okay.
And find out who it is. If it's that lady that we were talking to, I'd rather hear the information come directly from somebody at the county than her,
Okay.
if you understand my meaning.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So let's see what the county people have to say about flowage and flowage easement and all of that sort of thing.
Can I ask a quick question? You guys might know more than I. I noticed, I don't know if anybody knows, but the arroyo that butts right against Camelot, I've noticed that there's been some equipment staged there, and then they have some, I don't know if anybody, I walk through there every night, but there's a huge bird and duck population there. I wanted to ask, who is in charge of clearing out that arroyo right at the entrance of Camelot? Does anybody know?
That would be WPD.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if it looks like they're kind of staging to do that, which they need to do because rains are coming.
I think you're talking about on the exit from Camelot on the west side.
Yes, correct.
Yes, they clean that out every so often.
Yep. Yep. There's big, I don't know if anybody goes by there much, but there's hundreds of ducks.
I have seen them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just.
Yes.
Yeah.
But presumably, if they do the clearing out, presumably they are restricted from doing that during nesting season.
Got it. Yeah, I just noticed that they were starting to kind of put some things in, and And it's getting close to that, so I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, they have to keep that arroyo open in order to,
Of course,
in order for the,
Yeah.
you know, to stop the water from backing up into the flood areas.
for sure.
All right. All right, can I talk about what I wanted to talk about regarding this?
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't get that name though.
Which name?
Salvador Diaz Rubin.
All right, well, he's ahead, right?
Yeah. He was the one who came out.
Okay, so can could Venice, would you
Yes.
be able to contact Mr. Rubin and find out what the issues are and that Rosemary is talking about? Are they actually to do with the dam, or are they to do with something further down, which is probably what I think is being said. Okay?
Sure thing.
All right, just find out what the issues are in the down from the dam. So meanwhile, we have still an issue. Did we lose Vicky? Vicky's still on the line, I believe. There, she's down there, 805.
Oh, let's see. Do I need to unmute her?
Sure, why not?
Which one is
She's
she?
head of Broadwood HOA. She's 805-732-5521, I believe.
5521. Okay.
Let me just check that. Yes, that's her.
Okay, 1 second.
Unmute her.
I will. Let me see how I can do that. Oh, whoops.
Okay,
Oh, there she goes.
There she
There we
goes.
go.
here I am. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
I've been listening to everything.
very good.
Very
You
interesting.
hung in for a long time today.
I have.
All
Yeah.
right, just a reminder that we had this issue come up at the last MAC meeting. And so these first two photographs here, it's a little difficult to see, but the first one was actually provided by WPD, and it shows what the trail looked like before. It's this one little area at the very west end of the trail that they're putting in. That they put in. That's what it looked like before. And then the second photograph, are you able to scroll up, is what it looks like now that I took that photograph. It's, in the opinion of everybody who used to use the trail, it's considerably steeper than it was before. And we brought this up at the last meeting, and we have, after that, had more communication with the WPD, and basically they're saying they cannot extend it out beyond towards what in the second photograph is to the left. They can't extend it out there because that's not their easement, and they then are saying that anything that needs to be done should be paid for by Bridlewood Homeowners Association. And they also suggested that this should have been fixed in, this is in, as you can see, on December the 4th. They said that this should have been dealt with at the planning stage because they sent the plans to the HOA. However, we looked at those plans, and subsequently to that, both on December the 9th and December the 15th, they actually admitted that the slope was not on the plans. And the slope was not on the plans because they said that they weren't going to change the slope. Well, the fact is they have changed the slope. It is steeper. And if you go to the email on 12/4, it says, as I mentioned during the SRV MAC meeting, the ramp slope could be modified within the WPD easement to something less than the existing 20%, but it would not meet ADA requirements. Well, the current thing doesn't meet ADA requirements, that's for sure. And we're not asking that it would be would meet ADA requirements. So what I am suggesting is that we, the MAC, ask that the WPD, who created this problem by removing the debris basin, are the ones that fix it, as they said they were able to in the email of 12/4, so that this, and at the cost of the WPD. It's part of the cost of the project. As soon as this became apparent, in my email of September the 21st, we asked them to deal with it then. They chose not to, and now we have this problem. And it's their problem. They created the problem. They need to fix it at their cost. And I am suggesting that we as a MAC ask them to do that. So, Vicky, do you have anything to add to what I have just said?
I totally agree with you, Mark. And I've shared many emails with you and my conversation with Mr. Rubin. And Peter, who was at the MAC meeting last time, and you've got him in the minutes, he kind of, just like he said, kind of said it was our fault that they didn't make it the way their plan showed. And then he keeps saying that I need to speak with this Mr. Glenn Shepard, and whom I've never met. It's just, he's referring it above, I believe. And I'm kind of at a standstill. I feel it's dangerous because I'll tell you why. Those of you that ride horses, like Mark, you do, I do. If you're coming the other way from Vista Arroyo on a horse, and say a bike rider's coming towards us, they're going to have fun going down that very steep hill now that they have. And guess what's going to happen to you on your horse by that very busy Santa Rosa Road? And I feel it's very dangerous if we keep it the way it is. So you can understand how that could be a big problem. And as soon as the bike riders know about this nice steep little hill, they're thinking this is going to be fun. I feel we'll have a lot of bike riders coming down there, and then we'll have horses coming the other way, and we'll have a problem. But yes, I feel the county needs to fix it at their cost. Watershed. But we're just at a standstill right now, so I would appreciate any help we could have in getting this resolved, that the MAC could help us.
Thank you. All right. Anybody got any thoughts on this?
Well, the fact that the MAC, they were told that it would be a certain way and it wasn't built that way, I think that's pretty evident as to what needs to be done.
Yeah, it wasn't actually, that's not quite right. It wasn't, the slope was not on the plans. And that's what they have, if you go to the thing that I sent you, both on the 12.9 and 12.15, they have admitted that the slope was not on the plan. So, and they're saying they didn't put that on the plans because they were going to make it the same as it was before. Well, it's not the same as it was before, and they're trying to claim that it is. It's definitely steeper than it was. So,
well, there were.
So I certainly would be happy to have. I think someone's got two phones on, or
yeah. I think Vicky, it might be you. Do you have two phones going?
Walt has his on.
Oh.
He's listening in on this too.
Oh, okay.
That's what's happening, is we're getting feedback from two devices. But this is something certainly that we can go to the Watershed Protection District and tell them that this was not part of the plans that anyone understood, and it is my understanding, is it correct that you see a dangerous situation?
Yes, I do.
And is it specifically for horses that it's dangerous and equestrians, or is it beyond that?
Well, it's a trail, it's an equestrian trail, but bicyclists at this point in time are allowed to use it. So when you combine the two, I can see a very dangerous problem here.
Okay.
But just for horses by themselves, it's not safe. It's way too steep.
Okay. And so I just throw that out to the MAC and let them discuss it. If that's something that you'd like to have us ask them to review, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we would ask Supervisor Parks to discuss with the Watershed Protection District realigning that slope in a less steep manner, as was mentioned by Mr. Sheardi in his email of 12/4/20, that could be done within the WPD easement, and that's be paid for by the Watershed Protection District. That's my motion.
I second the motion.
Is there discussion?
Should we set some sort of slope grade, or, just saying that we reduce the slope, but might not get the desired effect?
It's a little tricky to do that. Here's the thing. There's lots of different slope grades that are to do with various different rules. So the ADA, which this has nothing to do really with ADA, but that becomes a whole government thing, is a 5% slope. It's never going to be a 5% slope, and it wasn't 5% slope before. It's probably at least a 20% slope at the moment. Normally, for a horse trail, the standard of making new trails is 10% grade. And for a short amount of times, it's okay to have like a little bit more grade than that. But I think that it's a little tricky to give an exact number. That's my opinion.
Less steep will be good, right?
Less steep would be good.
Well, Mark, could you give them a range, like, between this and this?
I'd like to say something like approximately 20%.
Well,
the National Park Service trails, I think, are somewhere, shouldn't be more than 10%, somewhere between 7 and 10%.
Correct. That's the Costco standard, and when Shooting Star Trail was put in, it was shot at 10% all the way up. That is, so we could say as close to 10% as possible?
I like that one.
I like that.
Okay.
Is there something that we could refer to as compliance with? Like Costco or whatever it is that you were just using as an example?
I'm trying not to overburden this. I'm not trying not to overburden this. It seems, I don't want to get too complicated with the wording of this thing, but what do you think?
Yeah.
Now, just so you know, Vicky, realistically, what might happen is if you're coming from the bottom and going up, it might take a turn to the right and then turn to the left. So it might become a back and forth there. You know what I'm saying?
A zigzag?
A zigzag. It might become, yes. So it may not go straight up there. It might go to the right and then come back up to the left. At least that would be less steep.
It would be less steep and more safe because we have to worry about that busy Santa Rosa Road, but it would be within their
but it's inside a fenced area. It's inside the fencing. All right,
so that would be okay.
I just want you to understand what may be the solution.
Okay. Or they could, in my opinion, they just would need to make the top not so tall. Just
they could cut into the top area, which is what they're trying to keep open to drive around on the the west side of the arroyo. But I think they could do it honestly without messing themselves up. But you know what? I think it's their problem. They created the problem. They should create should create the solution. And we, both Vicky and I would be happy to go and meet them and go over the solution.
Yes.
Are you ready?
They have asked me to come out with an engineer, but they'll meet me with an engineer, is what they're telling me.
I don't think you need to be doing that. I don't see why Bridlewood should have to be paying for an engineer for something that is that they admit can happen within the WPD easement.
Right.
But were they asking for you to pay for it, or were they saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They're saying they don't want to pay for it because they spent too much money already. But
Right.
you know what? That's as soon as it happened, as soon as it was made, we let them know. That was back in September.
Okay.
Well, we were over there, Mark, remember, with them while they were finishing up that end of it. And that's when I said to them, and I said to you, why can't we get them to stop it right now and make it right? And,
They chose not to.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, I'll do a roll call. You ready? Michael Adams,
Aye.
Rosemary Allison,
Aye.
Mark Burley,
All right.
Kevin Cannon,
Aye.
Amy Elliott.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Passed.
Thank you.
thanks, Vicki.
Okay, next issue is 2021 MAC meeting schedule.
I have it up if you want to take a peek at it.
Sure.
These are your typical third Thursday of the month, every other month. These would be your dates.
December the 25th? No, what? There's none in December. I'm
Right,
kidding.
there's none in December.
I'm kidding.
You're the blue, the purple is holiday.
Okay. I also it goes down and up and down and up. It's a little confusing.
Oh, yes, that's Excel.
Yes.
Oh,
What, every other month?
Looks good.
Whatever it is.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Yep. All right. Well, then if you want to approve it, then I'll get that posted and that'll be out there. You can always call a special meeting if needed.
Right. And I assume that we're going to be continuing to do these meetings remotely for the foreseeable, for the indeterminate future, right?
Yep.
I actually like this because I think more homeowners or residents can log in and get to be part of this process. I almost don't want to go back to the old way.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't dislike this at all. And I've been also have homeowners association meetings that we do like this. I think there's a lot of convenience to it. I kind of miss the camaraderie of getting together, but
yeah.
And I have to apologize. I planned on being home this evening for the meeting, but I had a big shipment issue. So I was driving from Santa Monica and in the office and home. So
my goodness,
I
you
apologize.
have nothing to apologize after doing that survey.
So
Nothing to apologize for. I'm impressed.
All right. So do you want to make a motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion, yes,
Great.
to approve it.
And
I'll second it.
okay, Michael Adams,
Aye.
Rosemary Allison,
Aye.
Mark Burley,
Aye.
Kevin Cannon,
Aye.
Amy Elliott.
aye.
Great. I'll get that posted. All right. I have no written communications.
Great. Future agenda items.
Love to get feedback on this debris basin issue that we just discussed.
So I'll add that again.
Yep.
I would like to bring back Southern California Edison and our efforts to work with Spectrum and Spectrum, what was the other one? And Rosa
Okay.
to alleviate some of the undue burdens.
I would like to I would like to have a report from the sheriff's department, and I believe that earlier, at the very beginning of this meeting, we had somebody from the sheriff's department standing by and they had to leave. That's kind of the impression. Because this thing about the mailboxes is a serious issue.
It is.
Yeah, I don't think we had the sheriff's department, we had CHP, and we didn't have the sheriff's department at the MAC. And we had a MAC yesterday too, where they didn't show up, so we need to
Okay,
connect.
well, if we could ask them to show up and to discuss this, because I know that a lot of people have been affected by it.
I'll let
Yes, and we'll also give them a heads up so they can report on it to you.
right.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I'll let Deputy Perea know specifically what you want to talk about. Regarding the SCE spectrum, is this that item went to come back? Is that for the MAC to discuss more, or are you asking me to invite SCE back?
No, I'm actually asking, I think, to invite Rosa.
To invite Rosa. Okay.
Yes, Rosa.
Okay.
That's number one. And number two, a representative from Spectrum.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we were saying, is that we need to work with these entities for them to understand the problems.
Okay.
And for them to do something about it rather than just say it was an outage.
Right.
So should we then add an item where we discuss the survey again? Now that we've seen it and we're going to get a copy of it to look at, in terms of quote unquote goal setting, it feels like today was the first day we had a chance to look at it, and if we can think about it for the next couple of months, and then we can just review what we think we can get at, what we got out of this, because we've got a lot of information there. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to digest it.
Yeah, we need to digest it, but I don't want it to just go into, a
Right.
file. We can discuss it again. So it should be an action item again.
Sure. We can call it a goal setting, because really today was just the information. So
Right.
we'll do a goal setting the next time. We'll push that forward.
Yes.
Okay.
I like Linda's idea that as we're reviewing it in between meetings here, if MAC members can think about specific agencies we want to target, send the subset of information that they would be able to act on. So for example, transportation, we get the transportation stuff. And, maybe like, as I review it, I'll say, well, this would be great. These answers, this, you guys can think of other groups that would want the information subset, then we could propose that at the next meeting to agree to send it out to those people.
And just because the Transportation Commission on the 29th, I believe, of January will be having their unmet transit needs hearing. I would like to submit the question, the responses we have on the transit question, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Sure. I guess I was thinking I'll put together the stuff that Rosa should know about the water, and I'll send that to Rosa so that way they can come to the meeting and address it.
Right. That's a good idea.
Okay.
In
Do you
addition,
want to include that in your motion? Or I guess we already moved on from that item, so we'll just take that as direction.
right. And then also, Denise, coming back for the next agenda, an update on the Yucca transfer.
Sure.
to,
Oh, yeah.
Line.
Yeah.
And, I just want to mention, when that gentleman was saying he had 100 days of no power.
Hours.
The rest of us did not have that problem. This was these few homes that had probably at least 15 to 20 more days than we did. So it was a huge difference. And in one instance, they had 4 days of no power.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's very bad. I mean, I know this because, when he was talking about Joe Markowitz, that's my son, and he was helping these people, by helping them get generators, set them up. But I mean, 4 days is a long time.
Yeah. hopefully we'll get more information on that before March, but.
Yeah.
And he said, Rudy said he would send me some information that I can post and we can send out. So once I get that little, like a package information, we can get that out.
All right.
All righty.
If we have nothing else, a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll take that motion.
Yay. Great.
Hi, everyone. Nice seeing you.
Adjourned at
All
9:06.
right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Denise, thank you for everything.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
So hard
Yeah,
on
great job, Denise.
Supervisor Parks, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let me stop this share. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
All right.
Good night.
Those on Zoom. All righty.